My funny Valentine, sweet comic Valentine, you make me smile with my heart. Your looks are laughable, unphotographable, yet you're my favorite work of art. Is your figure less than Greek? Is your mouth a little weak when you open it to speak? Are you smart? But don't change your hair for me, not if you care for me. Stay, little Valentine, stay. Each day is Valentine's Day. Is your figure less than Greek? Is your mouth a little weak when you open it to speak? Are you smart? But don't change your hair for me, not if you care for me. Stay, little Valentine, stay. Each day is Valentine Day.
Salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Podcast The Storm, where social awkward outcasts, crazy weirdos, and all around nerds convene, talk, and debate all things pop culture. With me, as always, is my co-host, the nerdy occultist, aka the authenticator, Dalton L. Mortimer.
Lovely to see you all on this beginning of the Roman festival of Veneralia, aka Valentine's Day.
And I am your host, last time one wannabe, the brainstorm of pop culture. How's everyone doing tonight? And I'm going to send the link in Discord again, just so. Sent it earlier, but I probably should have waited.
Yeah. It's yet another theme month, ladies and gentlemen. And just like usual, the moment we do a theme month, the world is just like, here, have all the things.
Yeah, we'll handle all that stuff like later, like when March comes around.
We usually get caught up sometime in March, and then April, May, June, and July all are basically normal or dead zones.
I forgot September and August.
Well, I mean, usually by September they're starting to talk about like they're starting to be a certain crop of movies and so on and so forth. So there's plenty to talk about, but for some reason the summer months are very slow with regards to news. But in fairness, sometimes we need it because on months like March and January, it's like 75% catch up, only 20% current.
Right. Really true. Okay. So just starting off a little bit light and breezy, I suppose. We are going to talk about our top 5 couples, which was actually relatively easy for us.
Yeah, it didn't take much doing, actually.
Okay, so I'm gonna flip a coin, and Dalton will call it. Well, okay, so
Okay.
I'll be heads, he'll be tails, so whatever it lands. Hello, Dragon Turtle. Good to see you.
Okay.
All right, see who goes first. And then I fucked that spin up, so let me try again. All right, and it's heads.
Okay. You go first.
So my first fiction, I do want to make it very clear, it was fictional couples.
Mm-hmm. Get the pictures. Don't forget to get the pictures.
Yeah, I'm doing it right now. So my first couple is Hiccup and Astrid from How to Train Your Dragon series. And I actually also do mean series, like both the movie trilogy and the subsequent
TV
series,
show.
TV shows, plural actually, because there were a few that actually.
Really, I only saw the one.
Yeah, there were a few. Like I
I
think
only saw Riders of Berk. I didn't realize there were other ones.
I think there were a few. I think just because like the shows kept getting moved.
Ah, okay. So it was a case of they fucked up and didn't put it in a prime enough spot.
Well, it kept getting moved. What I mean is like different platforms, like because Netflix had its own original Dragon, How to Train Dragon Netflix series, which was a continuation of Riders of Berk and stuff like that. So
Neat.
honestly, yeah, I think it's just one whole series that kind of just got broken up into various like series. So
This franchise is kind of the little franchise that could almost.
yeah.
You don't think much of it, but there's a lot to it actually.
So what I was saying was Hiccup and Astrid in the whole thing, like you really just see the growth and expansion of their relationship. Like it's never honestly they get together by the end of the first movie, and then you really get to see them expanded and like grown closer and stuff throughout the trilogy, and you get to see that building even more in the actual like series, like the spin-off series, which fills in the gaps between the years of those movies.
Uh-huh. And it's a nerdier guy and a tough girl. Gee, I wonder why Brainstormer likes this particular pairing.
I just think they're cool. That had nothing to do with my own personal preference, really.
That's why I think it's funny that you accidentally found your way into yet another one. God, you are gonna be carrying such a flame for Karen Murphy when you read the Dresden Files. It's not even good. But also Sigrun Guard. You'll probably have to decide between which you like better, Karen Murphy or Sigrun Guard, when you read the Dresden Files.
Also, the thing is, like, they never really fall into the trappings of like soap opera couples.
They don't do and now we need to argue stupidly about a thing in the second act so we can resolve it immediately in the third act.
At least to my knowledge.
They kind of almost did that with the first movie, but then again, to be fair, nobody really believed him, and she was one of the first people to open up to him. So like it's mostly just because they had to do the misunderstood outcast trope in the first movie.
Yeah, I mean they still did it pretty well. To be fair.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but it's still one of those tropes that I get annoyed with. The whole guy becomes a hero because he does something unusual, and then the unusual thing is discovered, and now everyone hates him. Oh wait, no, they don't, because he ends up saving them with his unusual way. Like, I really hate that trope. I generally I just hate stories where things are going very well in the first act, and then all of a sudden in the second act the other shoe drops and everything gets undone that was previously going well in the first act. I really hate that.
We'll talk some other day. We'll talk about tropes and stuff. Grand Tour actually summed it up pretty well. They didn't do that annoying. We need to make them have some relationship problems or replace one with a new love interest thing. That stuff always does. You know, the weird thing is, I think the series, to my knowledge, it's been a while since I've seen the actual show, mind you. Like early they tried, but didn't really pan out or anything. Or
growing pains, basically, from movie to show.
Yeah, but yeah, it was again like it's a really solid, dynamic relationship, and it just works. You know, like it's I honestly can't really think of anything else to say. Just like it's a good written relationship, mainly because it's never really been made the focus, but it's given a lot of attention and detail in terms of subtlety when it is shown.
Hmm. And to Dragon Turtle's point, it's not just the relationship that every movie seems to want to do that with. It's everything, and that's why I was saying I hate stories where a thing gets established, everything is going fine for the first act, and then some minor misunderstanding that could be resolved in 2 seconds of acting like human beings is the catalyst to undo fucking everything. And then, oh, wait, no, it turns out the hero was the hero all along, and you should have trusted him all along. Yes, you should have. Kind of. I hate second act reversals, I guess is what they're called. They piss me off.
Right. Shall we move on?
Yeah.
No surprise here for Dalton's first pick. Actually, no, I lie. It is kind of a surprise, but anyway, Dalton's number one.
Hmm. Willow and Tara from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I mean, they're just great. Granted, it's not a perfect couple because Joss Whedon was being an idiot sometimes. Uh, namely, Willow previously had a relationship with a boy named Oz, and rather than simply discovering that she was bisexual, she just completely converts to gay, apparently, because that's how Joss Whedon thinks that works. But
Uh,
apart from that one little minor gripe, um, of Joss Whedon doesn't know how sexuality works, they are probably the best gay couple in television history. Um, and not to mention their love story is a catalyst for probably the greatest arc in Buffy history, which is the Dark Willow saga. Basically, Willow is slowly but surely getting addicted to dark magic, but the love of Tara is able to keep her from falling off the edge. And then Tara dies from a bullet that's not even meant for her and is killed by Warren Mears when he's trying to kill Buffy. And this, of course, predictably sends Willow on a dark magic fueled vengeance kick,
right.
and she almost destroys the world.
Right. Giant Turtle, I'm fine with it as long as it isn't just hitting the reset button or otherwise done stupidly or forced. That or I misunderstand what you mean by the reversals.
I we will have to talk about that later, Dragon Turtle, because I don't want to lose focus too much here. But yeah, Willow and Tara are an excellent couple, and they're actually portrayed. Get this, social justice writers, like people in addition to being gay, and their relationship is actually reflective of who they are as individual people. Also, they get a love song. It's called "Under Your Spell," which is semi-ironic in the episode "Once More with Feeling" because um, in order to save Willow from herself, Tara insists that she stop using magic unless it's absolutely necessary. And of course, Willow is kind of addicted at this point, and so she puts a spell on Tara to make her forget that she said that. Um, so during this time, um, Tara is both literally and figuratively um, under Willow's spell. So their love song has an ironic twinge of ooh right in the heart. Also, there was this one time where a god showed up and sucked out the energies that bind Tara's mind into a hole, and Tara has to be locked in a. She essentially becomes special needs for a while, and Willow straight up goes in there and beats the shit out of a god for emotionally cathartic reasons. God, I love this. I love this couple.
You know?
Even if it ends in the most tragic and fucked up way possible. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, so I'm gonna be honest. I don't really have anything to say to that couple, just because Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the show was kind of before my time.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I saw reruns, but I never really saw Willow and Tail stuff, and I don't really remember it. And I also, when I started to get into that universe, it was more Angel I got into than
Because
Buffy.
you have bad taste, but never mind.
Let's agree and disagree on that.
I'm joking, but yeah. Liking Angel over Buffy does make me judge you.
I'm not saying I like.
Bit.
I'm not saying I like it over Buffy. I'm just saying, like, to be fair, that was kind of my introduction to the universe, and I don't know. I've enjoyed it.
You never cycle back around.
Yeah.
Something we will have to do if you and I ever meet up in real life.
It's kind of a complicated thing because I have seen stuff of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's just like it's never stuck in my head enough. Like Angel, like I saw Angel more than I saw Buffy. That might be the reason more.
Yeah, I think I think you just need to sit down and like actually watch the series from the beginning, and then you'll probably get invested, because you're very character focused, and a lot of the character stuff makes sense if you've been with the characters for a while, but if you're just seeing little bits and pieces here and there, it probably won't click quite as much.
All right, so moving on to my number 2, which is Hawkgirl and Green Lantern from Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, and specifically the Green Lantern of John Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm trying to find the right words here because it has been a while since I've seen the relationship portrayed in the media.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the best thing I can say is like I love the complexity that is written with it. Just the depth that there is. And it is, I won't argue it is kind of a will they, won't they, but not in an annoying way, if that makes sense.
In a way of, we were building a relationship and then you accidentally helped an alien invasion of Earth, and now we have to be estranged sort of way.
Yeah. I mean, we technically know they get together because they have a son named Warhawk in the future, thanks to Batman Beyond.
Speaking of, DC Comics, as in the actual company, could take a few pointers about continuity and character growth from Justice League and the wider DC animated universe.
Hey, Corrupt.
Yo, what's up?
We're talking top 5 couples here.
Oh shit.
Sorry, I didn't know you were gonna pop on, to be honest, because I knew you were gone for a bit. I just said it because I thought.
Feel free to color commentate on our choices, though.
All right. Sorry, I've been gone for so long. It wasn't my intention to just vanish like that, but real life got ahead. But real life, caught up with me, and just I got really busy at work. That's pretty much it.
Ah, I see.
So once again, sorry for not giving you guys any advance notice. I meant to. It's just I got really busy with work, and when I came home every day, I just went straight to sleep.
Yeah,
you and your narcolepsy.
Yeah, pretty much. Like it's a bitch working as much as I do when you have narcolepsy, because like every day every minute is a second not to fall asleep unless you like take
It's like you have to mentally remind yourself, don't sleep.
Yes. Like I have to take 2 of these pills in the morning before I and they're basically like narcolepsy medication to keep me from like falling asleep. Because
Aha.
if I don't, I can fall asleep. And driving and having narcolepsy is probably one of the worst combinations that you could possibly have in life.
Anyway, to catch you up, Brainstormers number 1 was Hiccup and Astrid from the How to Train Your Dragon franchise.
All right.
And my number 1 was Willow and Tara from Buffy.
All right. Willow and Tara. Was that really a long relationship?
It lasted 3 seasons, I think.
I liked Willow and Amp. I thought they were cute together.
I don't remember Amp. I remember Oz, but I don't remember Amp.
Let me see. Was it Oz or was it Amp? What was his name?
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure you're thinking. Yeah, you're thinking of Oz.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking of. Oz.
Yeah.
I liked Willow and Oz. They were cute together.
Yeah.
They only lasted, I think, like a season and a half in terms of the actual relationship.
Yeah, before he turned into a werewolf and shit.
Which I don't know why he just disappeared after that. I imagine it has to do with behind the scenes bullshit of the actor wanted out of the show, but like it's not like Buffy and the wider Scooby Gang doesn't occasionally include monsters. I mean, Anya is an ex-vengeance demon. Willow is to varying degrees addicted to dark magic. At various points, there's been a vampire on the roster. What are we doing here?
Pretty much, yeah. So it's not like they were always just all a bunch of humans being human and shit. They had, and then you have Angel, which is basically just monsters as the main protagonist. Well, with the exception of like,
Cordelia.
I guess Cordelia and is it
Fred.
Max? Oh, Gunn. I'm sorry, and Gunn.
Gunn and Fred.
Anyway, Brainstormer's second choice is John Stewart Green Lantern and Hawkgirl from
That's
Justice
a great
League Unlimited.
choice, actually. That's
Yeah,
an excellent choice.
I was trying to find the words. You actually just popped on after I tried to explain what I like about this couple. So what I had said was, I'm paraphrasing, I guess. I like the building of it, but also kind of the tragic will they, won't they. Like, it's a will they, won't they done kind of right, I think.
In that it's external circumstances that break them up and not their own personal bullshit.
Actually, I don't remember. How did they break up?
Because Shayera accidentally helped the Thanagarians invade Earth, and she became persona non grata among the Justice League for a while, so they had to just keep their distance.
I mean, we kind of know that they get back together at some point in the universe because they have a kid in.
Yeah. But they never got back together in the actual show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was flash forwards heavily implied from stuff in Batman Beyond and the epilogue.
It kind of reminds me of what do you call it? It kind of reminds me of the relationship between in Orville between like the robot and the doctor.
Oh, Isaac and what's her name that I can't remember right now.
And then they just kind of killed the relationship after that.
I think they're working on building it back up, but obviously your people tried to genocide us is kind of a big.
Wait, they married at the end of the third season.
They married, really?
Yeah, they can't really explore it any further because no one's really renewing the Orville anymore, so they can't explore that.
And yet we got like 5 fucking seasons of Star Trek Discovery.
Jesus,
the Orville doesn't get a 4th season, but we get 5 seasons of Star Trek Discovery, 3 seasons of Picard, and like 2 seasons of Lower Decks. The world is really not fair.
STD was absolute garbage. The only thing I liked about it was the fact that like the Discovery or whatever the ship was called had like drones that were like little Roomba robots. That's the only thing that I liked about that show was some small weapon system that had nothing to do with anything else.
Yeah, STD is aptly named. Let's just say
It's
that.
really awful. Also, it overdoes a lot of the robot AI shit that made Star Trek interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, my number 2.
Yeah, one sec. Your screen.
Oh yeah, Dragon Turtle is right. It's like every movie people need to reset the relationship or something. Yeah, I agree.
That's why I liked. That's why my first one was Hiccup and Astrid, just because they were good. That series was good at like continuing and developing that relationship.
Anyway, my number 2, Gomez and Morticia Addams, particularly in this case, the version of them portrayed by Raul Julia and Angela Hudson in the Addams Family movies from the 90s.
Checks out.
I mean, what is there to say about the Addamses other than gold, like platinum tier relationship goals? They are the quintessential people who are so in love with one another and so happy in each other's presence that they literally just can't keep themselves to themselves over it. It's glorious, and they're both extremely dark and eccentric and fascinated by their own particular things, and in turn also fascinated with each other's things. It's just Gomez and Morticia Addams are the quintessential relationship goals. I'm sorry. There no other options need apply.
I do want. Grub, do you know what cinema therapy is?
No. What is that?
Well, it's a YouTube channel. A psychiatrist breaks down like characters and stuff from movies. I find it fascinating. They did a video on.
I think what is her name? A friend of mine named Oracle is into that type of stuff where it's like a therapist will talk to you. I think one time she mentioned a therapist who does that who watched was it Rapunzel? What is that movie called?
Tangled.
Tangled. There we go. And it was about how the mother like gaslights Rapunzel and shit, or something to that effect. So yeah, I've heard of that concept.
Mother knows best.
Yeah, there are a few therapists that do that on YouTube. I've watched a few of them. They're not bad, actually. I really enjoy them.
I like Valerius the therapist a little bit better than I like cinema therapy, actually.
Well, what I'm saying was that they did a video on Morticia and Gomez.
What was their video like? What did they say?
Relationship goals.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, yeah. Anyone who doesn't want a relationship along the lines of the Addamses, I'm convinced you have no soul.
I mean, like, you have a lot of support, you have a lot of love, and you have commitment to one another. And it's not just a commitment. It's not just on the basis of, oh, we're married and we have kids, so we have to pretend to like each other. Like, they're deeply in love with and enjoy each other's company.
It's not even a sexual thing explicitly, although very clearly one of the things
still attracted to each other.
Yeah, they are very much not opposed to getting creepy, kooky, mysterious, and spooky, if you take my pun. But they are also absolutely romantically infatuated with each other's persons and personalities in a way that you don't often see portrayed very much. So it's
pretty much, especially considering they're both a straight couple.
I mean, don't they already took Scooby-Doo. What more could they possibly take?
Like, that's the thing.
God damn it. Like, I know it's a cliche to say it's nothing sacred, but when you're scraping the bottom of the barrel and defiling Scooby-Doo, you have officially gone too fucking far. God damn it.
I'm just glad they didn't fucking like assassinate Morticia and Gomez in the Wednesday fucking TV show.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
holy
no, the
shit.
the Wednesday show was actually pretty good. It wasn't perfect. I made a 45-minute video about how their characterization was a little bit off, but
When did you make a video? I didn't get a notification that you made a video.
not on my main channel, on E's movie channel.
What is E? Oh, Mr. E has a. Can you link me to
No,
that?
Englentine has a movie channel, and
Oh,
he sometimes lets me do solo videos over there, and I did a solo
oh,
video
okay.
on Wednesday.
Oh, did you like talk to Eglantine for me?
I did. He said he missed you and that you were still welcome over there anytime.
All right, thank you.
So, anything else, Stone?
Yeah, no, just Gomez and Morticia are relationship goals. That is all.
I mean, like, I don't think there's anything you can really do to criticize like Morticia and Gomez's relationship. It's so just like ideal
Yeah,
what you would want from a relationship.
it's both over the top romantic while still being and of course sexy while still being probably the most wholesome and chaste love you could imagine in a way.
And again, they like and the one thing that's really important is that they enjoy each other's company. So it's not like they feel forced to be around each other. Like they enjoy being with one another,
And
and
it,
that
and it's not just a physical attraction either. It's not just a
exactly.
sex thing. Although the sex is very much definitely there. It's just they are they're a love for the age. Anyway, your number 3 there, Brainstormer.
Yeah. And Drantrell, I'll send it to you. I'll send the video later. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, and I will send Corrupt, if you're interested, I will send you that video I did on Wednesday.
Thank you. I would love to. I would love it.
All right. Number 3 is Roxanne Ritchie and Megamind from Megamind.
Okay.
So, okay. So it's how to best explain this? Well, why I like this pairing. Well, for one thing, Megamind is like one of my favorite films. I really wish it had gotten a series, like a series of films.
I wish it had gotten the treatment that the Minions got, basically, or the Despicable Me got. That's the only problem with it, is that it was the lesser like supervillain movie in made by DreamWorks.
But well, for one thing, again, it's honestly in the movie, it's a believable and realistic
depiction.
Yeah, depiction of a relationship, or like the formation of one, like because they already have a pre-established relationship as like as Megamind, would capture Roxanne and to lure Metro Man and stuff.
Metrosexual man.
Although it must be said that speaking like we were of crack ships, from earlier, Brainstormer, I kind of wish that either they would be a threesome or that Megamind and Metro Man would cut her out.
Moving on.
Am I not? Am I the only one that sees it?
Yes.
Oh my
god. So again, like what was it?
Oh no.
It's just like a very believable course of how the relationship goes. Sorry, it's hard to find the words, really. Also, their banter is just like they have really good chemistry. Was also a thing.
Like banter is really important in a
relationship.
Banter is really important in a relationship because, like, if you can't like laugh together and have, if you can't laugh together and
If you
kind of
can't
have
be open with, if you can't be open with and occasionally tease the person you love, then
I
what
mean,
even is the love you're sharing? Kind of thing.
exactly. It's not even a relationship at that point if you can't like tease each other and have like a little bit of fun.
Tell that to. I was going to say something, but I am. It's going to sound really fucked up.
What?
Say it.
Tell that to a lot of women these days.
I mean, behold this man, for he is not wrong.
He's harsh, but he's right.
harsh but accurate.
I thought he's out of line, but he's right.
He's exactly like you. He's out of line, but he's right.
You have to say that with a lot of inflection of like Anthony, of the guy who plays Falcon.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but yeah, let's be real here. If I can put my MRA hat on for a second here. A lot of the reason why relationships in this day and age don't work is because women don't seem to see men as people, and when men do behave like people, they are either confused, enraged, or afraid, or some combination of all three.
If like there's this chick on TikTok who made like this video where some dude is in a gym and she says this crazy shit about him, like he's like, what did she say? Something like he's coming on, like he's staring at me and he's like a feral man and I want to rip his pee off and shit like that. And the guy looked at her over the span of like an hour or several hours, maybe like 3 times, and glanced in her direction like 3 times.
Oh, that's the other thing. The delusions of either victimhood or purity or both, that a lot of women have are just plain neurotic to a cartoonish degree.
Okay,
like,
so Dragon Turtle saying something.
What is Dragon Turtle saying?
Being able to banter, especially if to the point when it would seem like hate speech or bullying, is a sign of trust and comfort towards each other. A lot of also, each sex not really understanding the other in general, but I'd say the biggest is that it's so easy to break and replace a relationship nowadays, and people think they will stay young.
Yeah, but okay, I disagree with you a little bit on that last part, Dragon Turtle, because it's not easy for most people to break and replace relationships. It's easy for the like top 10 or top 1% of both genders to replace relationships, but for the other 80 to 90% of people, it's hard to establish a relationship in the first place, let alone keep it.
All right, so kind of trying to get it back on topic here. Again, the reason why I like them is just they feel like people that are developing a relationship or have one. You know?
Mm-hmm. They actually go through the process of establishing a relationship.
Yeah. Hell, they even technically have a friendship, which is how a lot of relationships do tend to start.
Uh-huh. And again, not to shit on your not to joke about your choice here, but especially because the trope of hero villain relationships as romantic relationships is so ingrained in like especially the comedic aspects of hero and villain relationships. I get that same kind of vibe from Megamind and Metroman just by themselves. I mean basically everything Megamind does is how do I get Metroman's attention? How do I replace Metroman? How do I prove to Metroman that I'm worth paying attention to? How do I replace Metroman, and so on. So again, not to poo-poo Roxanne or anything. I just think that the ideal situation would be them as a throuple, if anything.
That's a throw.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong though?
Dalton has thirst, man. Dalton's thirst is strong.
I'm just saying, and this goes for every shitty, poorly written love triangle. When there are three people who are all like mutually attracted to each other, and they very obviously have like that connection to each other, just stop trying to couple off and be a throuple. It's not that hard.
I don't know how to talk about this, so we're moving on.
I don't know how to comment.
Brainstormer's innocence is just like, I don't even.
Right. So moving on to Dalton's. Your number 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There we go.
Yep.
Also, I do want to point out this is a fan art, and the link to the actual thing is in the description below. So
yeah, but Kent and Enza Nelson from DC Comics. They're not a comic book relationship that most people know, because frankly most people just don't know Dr. Fate to begin with.
Yeah,
but one of the things that elevates this above the hoi polloi of comic book relationships is not only is Enza Fate's wife, he's also his apprentice, and becomes a competent enough magic user in her own right that when her husband dies, she's able to take over the mantle of Dr. Fate temporarily. So it's a very interesting relationship. Also because they kind of live apart from the normal world because they live in the Tower of Fate and so on, which was something that the DC animated universe was very good about showing. They kind of have a similar vibe almost to Gomez and Morticia, where they are the only one the other normally has to rely on, and they're perfectly fine with that.
So I also do want to point out, Dalton had originally told me to try and told me his pick for Ken and Enza incarnation was the Justice League Unlimited version, but I couldn't find the image.
Yeah, because they are really good portrayals of the characters, but yeah, there's probably not that much art on them, because
the only image
I think Enza only appeared 4 times in the DC animated universe.
Yeah,
once in Superman the Animated Series Hand of Fate, like 3 times in Justice League Unlimited.
The only image I could find, honestly, I was only getting images of Enza from the show. Never Dr. And Enza.
Look up Enza R34. That should give you something.
No.
Really?
Believe it or not, this is relatively a family show. I say relatively.
I think you might be stretching the standards of family content there, my friend. But okay.
I said relatively. Okay, relatively. Plus, I don't think YouTube would allow that. So.
Also, the swearing does tend to negate it from being a family show. Although I need the swearing, because without the swearing, I explode or suffer a brain aneurysm from all the
pretty much.
Sleeping.
Sometimes you need to belt out a few swear words, you know.
Well, I mean, when someone is being a fucking cunt or a fucking idiot or a fucking idiot cunt,
I like that one. I like.
There's only so many ways I can diagnose it without saying you are a fucking idiot cunt.
Anything else to say about Ken Enza, Dalton, or?
No, they're slightly, in a lot of ways, they're a slightly more understated version of what I like about what I like about Gomez and Morticia.
To be fair, I've had to go to him because I am writing my own version of Dr. Fate and Inza, so I've had to go to him for that. So
yeah. Also, Enza is anything but a disposable love interest, because even before he took her as his apprentice, she was a high achieving person in university, and mind you, this was in the freaking 40s that this was happening. So a woman in a high achieving, I think she was in a postgraduate archaeology degree in the 40s, is pretty freaking impressive just by itself.
So moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's go on.
All right, my number 4. There we go. Xibalba and Santa Muerte from Book of Life.
You really do like this? Well, I guess it makes sense.
I am wondering what your reasoning for it is.
Hey, I'm not the one who made the joke this time. Hooray!
No, I'm just curious. Like,
It makes sense, you know.
well, okay, so originally I was going to pick Manolo and Maria from Book of Life, but we only see their relationship form in the movie.
Yeah.
When with Xibalba and Santa Muerte, it honestly comes off as like they're just like an old married couple. And
that's true.
You get to there's more to explore there, and they just seem to have like a lot of fun together, even though they bicker a lot, which honestly seems a norm for couples.
Yeah, remember when she caught him in the scheme and like completely just roasted him like any normal wife would.
So I'll be honest, they kind of reminded me of my grandparents, and their dynamic at least.
That's kind of sweet. That's sweet, Brainstormer.
Uh-huh.
I've kind of made myself sad. You know?
Oh Jesus!
It's fine. I'm fine. But yeah, they're really fun, and they you get to just see the entrance. I can't pronounce this word. The plural of interest in intricate.
Intricacies.
Thank you. Of their relationship and dynamic, and again, it's a lot of fun.
Also, the fact that they're basically deities is also kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it kind of humanizes. It kind of humanizes them a little bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how Xibalba ever scored Santa Muerte is something that
I
wonder.
I mean, to be fair, they're deities, so presumably they arose out of like the primordial chaos before existence. So I can't imagine there were that many options.
I'm just saying, like, she seems far out of his league.
Right, but I mean, when one is a god of the underworld, how many other gods of the underworld are there to pick from?
Right.
I mean, if I were making a universe, I wouldn't mind seeing the occasional like cross pantheon like tryst or relationship. Like my head canon for Reynard and the Magicians, partially because his name is Reynard, and partially because whenever he refers to Hades, he refers to him as his stepfather, not his father, but his stepfather. I think Persephone cheated on Hades once with a Norse god, probably Loki. So that's my theory.
I mean,
that would also make sense of Reynard being a trickster. So, you know.
Loki did turn it like Loki would turn into a horse to fuck a bitch. So I mean, I can see it.
Well, that and Persephone's only in the underworld for 6 months out of the year or 3 months out of the year, so it gives you a lot of time to stoop around without the hubby noticing. But that's whatever.
So moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Bones number 4.
Yeah, Clea and Stephen Strange from Marvel Comics.
Again, there weren't really a lot of good images I could find on Google Images, so.
Yeah, unfortunately, nobody appreciates these characters. I expect that will change now that Clea is officially in the MCU and being played by Charlize Theron, though. Nevertheless, she's interesting in that she started actually as one of his villains, in that she was the niece of Dormammu, and she was sent by Dormammu to essentially seduce him and be his undoing, but she fell in love with him and betrayed Dormammu, and then threw Dormammu out on his ear and became the mistress of the Dark Dimension. So, like,
I like Dormammu.
Yeah, this is a couple that also has a long and fairly continuous history. Like Kent and Enza, as the counterexample, most of their history happened in the Golden Age of comics because people just don't care enough about Dr. Fate to keep revisiting it. But Clea and Steven have been an off again, on again, married, divorced, remarried thing since the 70s.
Be right back.
Since she was first introduced. So there's a lot of character history there. And of course, much like with Kent, after she betrayed Dormammu and threw him out on his ear, Steven took her as his apprentice and taught her how to use her magic. Also, interestingly, worth noting, this is a character who actually is a more powerful version of her male counterpart, and it's organic to the mythos, because she is actually half Faltine, which is what Dormammu is. He's a being of pure mystic fire. Therefore, she has innately more raw magic than he does, which is how she's able to defeat her uncle and take over the Dark Dimension for a while. And as much as SJW Marvel is definitely a thing currently, the way they handled what happened recently in the comics, where Steven died and she decided that to honor him, she was going to take over in his stead. That is how you do this kind of passing the mantle in a way that doesn't shit on the lore, break the characters, and insult the original character. Because it was made very clear that she was doing this to honor him, and that she regretted having become estranged from him again in the first place. And also, the fact that she ruled over the frickin' Dark Dimension tells me she's pretty qualified to be the Sorcerer Supreme. Especially because she had to defeat Dormammu in order to take the seat on the throne of the Dark Dimension in the first place. So there.
Right. Okay. I don't really have anything because this is not one. I'll be honest. Doctor Strange is not really my forte.
Uh-huh. When it comes to when life is strange, I am usually the one that gets consulted.
Like here's my thing, right? Like I get where you're coming from. I just think it came out. I just think it happened during like a really unfortunate time because of because of the other things that are happening.
I mean, sure, but the things that bother me about those kind of things are, number one, it insults the character that they're replacing. Number two, it's lore breaking. Number three, it comes right the frick out of nowhere. And number four, it just breaks the characterization and established canon. They didn't do any of that with the transition from Steven to Clea. And also, it wasn't I'm just better than you randomly now, and you're unworthy of your title, like it was with Thor, for example. He died, and she came out of the dark dimension to act as the earthly plane sorcerer supreme, partially to honor him, and partially to assuage her own sense of guilt for leaving him in the first place.
No, I agree with you. I'm just saying, like, it was just
No,
unfortunate.
I know, but it bothers me that they throw her into the same category as Jane Foster Thor and all that other shit. Like,
Like I said, I agree with you. Like I said, it's just like an unfortunate time. It's just unfortunate timing because of what's happening currently.
yeah. Now, granted, I haven't read much of her actual tenure as Sorcerer Supreme, so it wouldn't surprise me if the SJW writers did get in there and make her an aggressive bitch like Captain Marvel or Lady Thor at some point. But at the very least, her debut issue
made sense, basically.
In the new cycle, it told me that someone on the writing staff was doing their fucking job and trying to keep something consistent with the character. So like,
basically, yeah, so the execution of the debut made sense, basically.
Yeah.
Even if like the rest of the run is shit.
It could easily have gone down the black hole when I wasn't looking. But nevertheless, I am okay with her as Sorcerer Supreme because she was his apprentice for 20 freaking years. They were married on and off through like 30 or 40 years now, and she has demonstrated magical power and magical competency enough to dethrone Dormammu, kick him out of the Dark Dimension, and rule the Dark Dimension on her own. So she clearly has at least the power to protect the borders of a dimension, which is the main purpose of the Sorcerer Supreme. So
I can see that.
Yeah. Moving on. And again, they made it perfectly logical within like character motivation reasons. So I don't mind it.
All right.
So moving on to number 5.
Your turn, Brainstormer.
All right.
Yep.
I feel like jokes going to be had here, but I have good reason.
Let me see.
Number 5 is Puss in Boots and Kitty Softpaws from Puss in Boots franchise.
It's very wholesome.
Also, Brainstormer's continued desire for girls with fighting prowess and or toughness.
I want a girl to put her thighs around my forehead.
No. He wants sparring as foreplay. That's his thing.
That's what I mean. I want her to wrap my thighs. I want her to wrap her thighs around my head.
No, I don't think Brainstormer is quite as kinky as you're making it.
No, it's just it's a muscular girl thing, basically. Like you want a powerful girl. You want a powerful girlfriend.
I keep telling him that when he meets Karen Murphy, if he ever reads the Dresden Files books, he's gonna wind up having a crush on her by like book 4.
For the record, this was actually kind of spurred from me seeing like people draw like human, because of the new Puss in Boots movie that came out recently, like fan art of like humanized versions of these characters. Really good art, by the way. I really actually should have liked some of those posts, to be fair. So that happened. One thing, Puss in Boots is like one of my favorite movies to come out. Not just the recent one, but the first one too. I liked it a lot. Again, their relationship, it's interesting. One, because it was never like, in the first movie, it's technically not a focus, but it is developed reasonably well.
Mm-hmm.
And again, they come off as very like actual people, not like characters in a story.
Also, the fact that they're voiced by Antonio Banderas and Salma Hayek probably sells it more.
Yeah, yeah.
And they have chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't they get? Weren't they a thing at one point? Weren't they a couple?
Selma
The actors, I
Hayek,
mean.
I'd
I
like to
believe
think they were.
I
And
believe
Antonio Banderas. I thought they were. I thought they were together for a while, not so very long time ago. Maybe I'm completely bullshitting, and I might actually be considered racist for this one, but but I think they were together at one point, and
They
if
made
not, they have amazing chemistry, and they probably should get together at some point.
they made tacos together. Basically, is what you're saying.
so. Anyway, um,
Uh,
the again, yeah, like I said, I like their dynamic. And it's actually really in the new Puss in Boots movie, it's really developed further. Just on the fact, and spoilers, by the way, um, they were supposed to get married, but Puss left Kitty at the altar because he was scared of commitment at the time, and goes on this whole journey throughout the movie to learn to conquer like that kind of fear and stuff. It's a whole thing. Like it's actually again, it's a really great movie, and I would recommend people watch it.
What Puss in Boots?
The Last Wish, the new one that just came out.
Yeah, with Jack Horner as the villain, right?
he was actually a pretty interesting villain. Granted, they added a fuck ton to his character that didn't really follow from the original story, but
They made him like a psychopath and shit.
they also made him kind of a man after my own heart in that he collects magical objects. So, yeah.
He's also evil as fuck.
He was. He turned one of the the Snake Sisters? Is that what they were called?
I think
One of
so.
the
He needs to be gold.
Yeah, it turned her into gold, and then said
Midas
you can
touch.
exactly you can have your weight in gold, and literally turned her into gold.
Yeah. But,
Also, what the dynamic between him and Jiminy was really hilarious. The whole time, Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah,
what was I?
Jack, you're a monster. You think?
It took you long enough.
But yeah, it's a very mature relationship. It's never like kiddish, if that makes sense.
Basically, it's a relationship between two mature people who, instead of like a kind of budding romance that's shown as being a little childish.
It Brainstorm and I talked about this on Thursday when we were discussing this. It seems like all romance stories in this day and age are just constantly revolving around unresolved sexual tension, and then once the characters have resolved that unresolved sexual tension, they don't know what to do with them. They don't know how to portray an actual relationship from that point forward.
I can see that. That is kind of an issue, I think, with some depictions of relationships.
That would actually explain a lot of my picks, then, to be fair, because they do kind of the opposite.
Yeah. But it is an annoying trope that as soon as the characters have met cute, they basically don't have personalities thereafter.
Or they don't know how to further the personality in the relationship. Basically.
Yeah, like it's the same problem a lot of old sitcoms used to have, where they would do a will they won't they with characters, and then once the characters would, they either became extremely boring and didn't like have as much connection anymore, or the show just like slowly but surely ended and they didn't really do anything with it afterwards.
Yeah, because like the chase becomes the entirety of the show.
Yeah, like on Bones with Booth and Brennan, or with Sam and Diane and Cheers and so on. Like writers don't seem to know what as I've often put it, what happens after Happily Ever After.
Yeah, because like so much of the focus is on the chase and not the aftermath of the chase.
Yeah. The unresolved sexual tension. Well, we resolved the unresolved sexual tension. What now?
or they become
I don't know.
or they become kind of bland-ish relationships that really aren't touched on unless
Yeah,
it's
they just lose whatever spark or personality they had to begin with,
Mhm.
and become the most generic normal couple possible.
West Allen and Olicity.
What?
Arrowverse.
Oh,
Oliver and Felicity.
Oliver and Felicity. I thought you said Alover and Felicity. I didn't know who the hell that was. You said Oliver. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I could have said that wrong. If I talk,
I heard Wes Allen, so I was confused there for a second.
no, I also said Wes Allen because that relationship's kind of totally fucked.
Yeah, but yeah, it's an annoying, just like the second act breakup that happens in every movie with a romance subplot. The we can't write a relationship after the happily ever after point is really freaking annoying.
Yeah, it is really
Either that or they jump right to children and nothing else. Like, what are we gonna do with these characters now that they're together? They'll have a baby and settle down.
pretty much.
Because there's nothing in between there and there, right?
Exactly. There's nothing more to it than that.
Weird how people who work in the industry don't get relationships, like in terms of writing them.
You would think someone who, especially because a lot of times when there's someone who does romance movies or romance stories, they kind of specialize in romance stories, and yet they don't know the first goddamn thing about romance.
It comes off as if people who work in as if a lot of these writers are mostly just single and that don't have any real world experience.
Projecting their fan fiction basically onto.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
it's shallow too. Like that's the thing.
Yeah, and so they're just
which explains why they're single, most likely.
Exactly. So instead of giving us a real substantive relationship, we just get this kind of blandly idealized one that gets boring after the story's been told. You know.
Right.
I'm gonna have to tell you about the way I end or the way I set up the ending for my self-insert character and his love interest in the story the comic me and Brainstorm are writing.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
It very much fixes that problem there. But anyway, we'll do that after the show because I don't want to go too far and do it on camera. Anyway, at least not this week. My number 5.
So actually, quick story on this one. I had to remind Dalton of this one.
The reason was because I assumed we did a relationships based list like this before, and I could have sworn I already put them on. But nevertheless, Hulkling and Wiccan, my boys. I mean, they are just ideal and perfect and glorious, and I love them so much. And they also kind of are simulacra of my ideal relationship. And I wouldn't mind, and I've said this before, but I wouldn't mind
Nerd and Jack, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind having a threesome with them because Wiccan is a magical nerd, which means I would have someone to talk shop with, and it's not like Hulkling couldn't handle both of us. So,
right. This also is a fan. This is a fan art that I had found, and again, links in the description.
I gotta say, I'm liking the Thirsty Dalton arc.
Boys, if you ever find yourselves in my section of the multiverse, call me. Seriously.
I am liking Thirsty Dalton. This is not a side of you that I see very often.
I deal with it a lot, actually, to be fair.
I was gonna say I'm surprised you haven't seen it.
So it's interesting. I've known Dalton, I think, for 5 years, right, Dalton? I think I've known you for 5 years.
I think we met in we met pretty much right after England Keen did his like Black Caucus on Black Panther thing.
Yeah, and then I liked you, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna talk to this person.
So yeah, it was 2017 was
You
when that
know,
happened, because that was
you
also when I kind of came into the fold.
you know why? I think I know. It's because we never discuss like details surrounding like the relationship of like relationships and things like that, or certain types of characters. It's mostly just like things relating to like culture and like news and
Yeah,
entertainment.
like
Not
political
necessarily.
stuff or geek stuff or philosophical stuff or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, we've never really delved into like personal like things like, oh, I like this person, like stuff like that. I don't think we ever have.
hmm I mean, you've told me about some of your exes, but that's not really that really doesn't qualify much as romance, because good God, man, I love you, but you are really bad at the picking of people.
So I've said this before. I like I so the so I have an issue where I'm a little shallow when it comes to chicks. I told like a friend of mine this and she got really angry at me. I have fairly high standards for men, but the only standard I have for women is that I think they look hot. And she blew up at me and said that you like need to have better, like you need to judge relationships better. And I
Did she call?
agree. I probably do.
Did she call you misogynist?
She
That seems like a prime feminist moment of
No,
misogyny.
she's not. Thankfully, she's not a feminist. Basically, she just said like you need to have better standards for people than just like, oh, they're hot, I want to fuck.
I mean, to be fair, I will co-sign that, mostly because I care about my friends too much, and I want to see my friends in happy, constructive relationships. And also, when my friends are in bad relationships, I get the uncontrollable urge to curse people,
All
because
right,
nobody fucks with my friends
I
and lives to go uncursed about it.
I appreciate that, Dalton. And yeah,
Yeah.
I do need to judge people better.
Yeah, do you have stalker?
I have had a stalker before,
Yeah, I
actually.
remember you
Yes,
mentioning that before.
I have. There was one girl. I call her my Polish ex because she's from Poland, and she basically had her friend like stalk my Facebook and several of my social media accounts, and I know that she did other weird shit that I'll probably mention not on the stream because it's a little more than I want to talk to, than I want to explain publicly.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
yeah, that's basically it. She has done like weird stalker shit. Cause like,
You know you break the golden rule, right?
yeah, I really do put my dick in the crazy a lot.
You stuck it in crazy, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is why everyone can appreciate the golden rule. Do not stick it in crazy.
Pretty much, yeah.
Lest you be Amber Hearded.
I mean,
Um,
just because someone is attractive, and just because someone is attractive doesn't mean they're worth being in a relationship with.
yeah. Also,
Holy shit.
sometimes the most attractive people are crazy because they know they can get away with it. Anyway,
Yes.
addressing something that Dragon Turtle said in the chat, because it gives me more opportunity to talk about my boys. Yes, Hulkling can transform. He is a Kree Skrull hybrid. He is the son of the Super Skrull and one of the Kree emperors, and therefore technically alien royalty.
Captain
Yeah, the reason why he is called Hulkling, apart from the absurd levels of super strength he had, which is hot beyond all reckoning, but that's neither here nor there.
Dalton
But
wants you to break him in bed, basically.
yes, I would very much appreciate my future boyfriend and husband doing that. But that's neither here nor there. Is because he was essentially a fan of the Hulk, and therefore would take on a green form when acting as a superhero.
Ah, that's actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
Too bad you don't hear much about it over there.
I keep mentioning this, but Hulkling and Wiccan are the best gay couple in comics. And they're also one of the few gay couples that writers in the modern SJW uh, regime don't like to play with very much. But that's a good thing because it
Well,
means they don't like fucking up my boys too much.
I mean, I don't know if this is how accurate this is, but like I can probably give you an idea.
It's probably because they don't like having established gay characters with established personalities. They like
That
either
and
turning gay characters into flamboyant big gay owl as stereotypes, or they like converting characters who
also
previously were not gay.
also Hulkling is very much a very masculine figure, and I think that probably is a turnoff for them as
Yeah,
well.
and side rant about that. I've ranted about this before, but side rant about that. Dear writers of gay characters the world over, somebody has to be the top, god damn it. And it's really annoying for me as a gay person to not have any gay people in comics apart from my boys who I find attractive
I
at
I
all.
I feel like they're threatened by masculine male characters, and one, I don't think they know how to write very masculine male characters. And when you see Hulkling, you see a very masculine dude, and he's quote unquote white. So it like hits a lot of buttons for them that
Well,
just turn them off, I think.
well, there's that, and there's also possibly an ideological component of it because they value gay people or the like gay conceptual hive mind
Yeah.
because they see gayness as an extension of femininity. So when they get faced with a masculine gay guy, it's just like, but gayness is supposed to be a subset of femininity,
That,
and
that's
that's why we're supposed to tolerate them, right?
that's what I was saying, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also has Silvertongue Gaming says hello, Dalton.
Oh, look at that! You got a
Hi,
there.
hi, it's okay.
Uh,
We just got done talking about couples that are to varying degrees relationship goals, or that we just really enjoy.
it's actually funny because I've actually written a gay couple, or am still writing it. I haven't like fully written it out yet, but I'm straight, and yet I think I wrote a pretty good gay couple character.
Yeah. And that's not even counting the gay couple that I helped him with that features my self-insert character.
This is what I
And
came up with myself.
yeah, you're talking about the reluctant speedster one, right?
No. It's from the one that I basically am parroting Black from.
Ah, okay, that one. The gay quasi Batman couple there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually funny. Brainstormer has written quite a few gay characters, and most of them without my influence. I did take the lead on my self-insert character and his boyfriend though, because obviously.
Well, I mean, it's your self-insert. You want to make sure it's done right, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, I will after we're done here tell you about how we decided to develop their relationship. It actually kind of when I was explaining the idea to Brainstormer, I actually choked up a little bit. It was odd for me.
I don't want to give too much away, obviously, just because I am still writing it. I do plan on releasing it at some point in the future. This one, and again, it's like a Hispanic version of Kwanzaa Ochietho's Black, like kind of a universal property.
You made a Hispanic version of Black, really?
Kind of.
It's actually really really interesting.
So all the superhero, were they all enslaved by white people too?
No.
No.
I guess general premise.
He's basically doing a riff on Black, but without the social justice.
Yeah.
That could be interesting.
So basic premise: aliens appeared one day in the sky, and after they left, without saying anything, people began developing superpowers, specifically Hispanics.
Okay.
There's a whole grander plot. Obviously, that is the general premise.
All right. there goes the. I guess. Well, that's interesting.
And yes, I have made all of the necessary ole jokes about it.
But yeah, I was writing these two major characters. One is like a Batman type, who I guess works. I guess you could say Nick Fury type character, and they're together. Although the thing I wanted to do with it was make it very subtle and make it sure that honestly you wouldn't even guess they're gay unless it's like kind of explicitly stated or shown.
Mm-hmm.
Subtlety.
That thing that seems to be all but absent from every piece of art in the last 30 years.
I think the thing I wanted to confirm it was there are two scenes in my head, and don't worry, we'll move on to the next topic and stuff. I just wanted to point out, like, it's not hard to write gay characters if you focus more on the characters than the gayness.
I mean, yeah, like it's like a man writing a woman. If you focus on the fact that they're a person and not a label, then yeah.
Yeah, people are individuals with their own individual lives and individual backstories. Who the fuck knew?
I wrote a lesbian couple with a female Namor.
Yeah, like I've written a lot of straight characters, obviously, and I've never once been like, how do straights have relationships? Probably like anybody else.
Yeah, it's although I will say there was this one writer, and I can't think of his name, and I really wish I could think of his name, who said that he writes women. Somebody, a female journalist asked him, I really like your female characters. They're very accurate to the female experience. How do you write female characters so well? And then he responded, I imagine a man on it. I take away reason and accountability.
Oh, I remember that. I
saw that movie. I'm not gonna. Unfortunately, Brian Troll, I am not gonna answer that. Like he's kind of taking a guess on what is going on there, and I don't want to spoil anything. So just let's just say
he's still working on it.
Well, I know I already have it kind of planned out in my head, but let's just say it kind of goes from globe-trotting adventure to space opera. Let's just say that.
Mm-hmm. And he's explained it to me, and I've offered my services as a sounding board like usual. Right. So yeah.
But yeah, there were two scenes that I'm not sure which one would work best in terms of confirming the relationship. The first one was effectively just like the Nick Fury guy going home, and it's the collapses on the couch in the arms of his partner, which is the Batman character.
Oh,
that's the most explicit one.
I've had a hard day. Time for sucky sucky.
No, why you always gotta make it weird, man?
His name, for the purposes of the internet, is corrupt. This shouldn't be that surprising. Although, yes, I will admit I was enjoying the simple, more wholesome version of it before you put that image in my head.
I did also have like just another thing is like they're both workaholics. That's also a thing. Like two workaholics being together, I thought was also an interesting idea. Because usually when you do that when you have a workaholic character, you always have the other one that kind of balances them out.
It's also always a point of contention in badly written relationships of why don't you spend enough time with me because I'm working. Duh.
Oh yeah, basically that's a pretty common trope when it comes to relationships. It's like one spouse works a lot and then the other's just like, why don't you ever spend any time with me? And it turns into like it's tropey, but I get it.
It's another one of those tropes that I don't hate it like viscerally, and I don't mind seeing it every great now and again, but it's everywhere, and I'm well OD'd on it basically.
I think the main problem is, the main problem with basically a lot of tropes are, they never, no one really tries to do variety, like try to play with it. Take it from a different angle.
Yeah, and and not subvert it either. Just do something different with it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why I wanted to do like two workaholics that are in a romantic relationship and kind of make it work. Which is why I wanted it to be more of a subtle relationship, because again, they're hard workers.
Yeah, and again, he's explained this to me and used me as a sounding board like he usually do, and I really enjoyed it. Although he was really nervous telling me when he first came up with the idea because he was worried I would judge him because being gay, he basically wanted a gay guy's opinion. So but no, he's better at writing gay characters than 99.99999 repeating percent of all the gay characters we've ever gotten, and that 0.000001% is Hawkly and Wicked.
Right, and the other scene that I had in mind was kind of to tell the audience that they were in a relationship was this was a more subtle one, where the Nick Fury character takes out a cigarette and starts smoking, and the Batman character says, I don't like you when you smoke.
He's told me this before, but it still makes me go aw.
Honestly, I feel like the latter is better.
Honestly, you could do both. There's nothing stopping you from doing both, and I think that was my advice to you the last time.
That's fair.
Because I mean, it's an ongoing series, and you have a bunch of different characters, so you can cut to them one time and have one of them happen, and then cut to them the next time and have the other one happen. It's not because people can be romantic more than once in a thing before it becomes annoying. Who knew? If the characters are well written and not just avatars of a demographic hive mind, or what people assume a demographic hive mind should be.
Pretty much, it's like, especially when it's two gay men, we have this type of idea now where two gay men. It's weird because and this sounds a little sexist. It's weird, but gay men now are kind of written like what people think women are like.
Yes.
So instead of writing two men who are gay, they're more or less just women with dicks.
Yeah, they're as feminine as possible. And I think that has to do with what I mentioned earlier, the fact that the social justice approved logic for homosexuality is homosexuals are just like women. So obviously they should be as feminine as possible. And it doesn't help the situation that of course gay men do have that stereotype of being effeminate. So feminists looked at that and went, that means we should approve of gay men because they're like women. And then the culture just went, yes, we should. But that means we also should write them as feminine as possible because nobody wants any icky masculinity in them, right?
Pretty much, because a lot of these writers themselves are women, and masculinity is seen as a poison. So what would be the opposite of that? Oh, femininity, obviously. So we'll write them more like women or more like what we think women are like.
In fairness, there are also a bunch of really, really flamboyant twinks who write these characters, and frankly, I have seen. It's not that I want to gas the twinks or anything, but at this point, I am suffering of overexposure of flamboyant twinks. If I never see another flamboyant twink character in anything ever again, it will be too soon.
A lot of them are written by very flamboyant gay men. Hell,
those are your only options. Your only options for writing of gay men in this day and age are extremely flamboyant gay men who essentially are ideologically captured by all this feminist critical theory woo, or women.
Right. Granted, and now that I'm really thinking about it, like again, back with the gay characters that I've written, they're both technically masculine. Again, like I described them as like Nick Fury and Batman, so that kind of masculinity with those two characters.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I just
although the one policing the other one's smoking habit makes me think that the one who smokes is the bottom, and the one who looks after him is the top. Just because that's how that usually works. It's also very ridiculously sweet.
I told you, no smoking. Oh, sir.
Corrupt. Why must you ruin it? Brainstormer's version was fine, and now and you ruined it.
All right, and my.
I know, but that is a thing for those that don't know in gay relationships where yes, the top is more dominant, but he is obliged basically to use that dominance to look after the bottom.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's
nothing
very enjoyable for
it's
those of us that swing that way.
It's very noticeable in daddy and son relationships too.
Okay, but
why?
What? It's true. That's not even me joking
no, I know,
around. It's true.
but must you Slaneshify everything?
I'm just saying that it happens in those relationships. It's
well,
true.
Okay, so hold on. Are you talking about legit father-son relationships or?
No, so
he's talking about a subset of like gay erotica.
Okay, well,
basically, I'm not. It's not gay erotica. It's like certain relationships you have like like this happens. This is common with twinks and older men, or like slightly more masculine dudes. They have like a daddy and a son dynamic relationship.
Yes, but
it's not gay erotica.
To quote one of my favorite lines pertaining to this particular topic from Xander from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. See, incest, it's not sexy.
It's not incest. I mean,
okay, so
no, but the point is, even figurative incest is kind of.
Okay, so Giant Girl has to leave. Apparently, he has a really bad headache. Hope you feel better, man. And also, before he goes, you could say that in a gay relationship, you need to cover your bottom.
Okay, you can get away with that this one time, but if you ever do that again, boot to the head.
Yeah. So again, hope you feel better, Dragon Turtle.
Later, Dragon Turtle.
All right. Anyway, shall we move on to the articles?
Yes.
Yay.
That's my reaction.
Oh, the beauty, oh, the joy. And now let's all get out our pistols and put them in our mouths.
This son Don sent me these. So if you have to blame anyone, Corrupt, blame him.
All right.
People usually do. It's my cross to bear.
Yeah, so this is from the Louisville Cardinal.com, written by Shelby Gardner and published, does it say? I guess it doesn't.
I think it said in Google, but I don't remember what the date was.
So yeah, Valentine's Day is overhyped and problematic. I will agree to the overhyped part, to be fair.
How is Valentine's Day problematic?
Yeah,
because it places expectations on people to feel happy and romantic feelings towards each other, basically.
So
it's like you can't, it's like they want a society where no one feels anything and no one's allowed to express any sort of desire that might make someone else even slightly inconvenienced. How dare you be happy? I'm sad.
And or they hate the quote unquote burden of having to be happy, which tells you everything you need to know about them, honestly.
Again, I do agree with the overhyped thing, but that's mainly because of my own personal views of Valentine's Day.
I really enjoy it, but then again, I really enjoy over the top romantic gestures, both giving and receiving them. So that might well be my cross to bear. Also, as with most holidays, I really like the lore behind Valentine's Day. So
my thing is that it happens once a year. It's one day out of a month. It like if it inconveniences you that much for people to like do romantic gestures, for people to like exchange romantic gestures or whatever, then like I don't know, go live in the sea. I don't know what to tell you at that point.
The other thing is Valentine's Day is a lot like other holidays. We're not saying you shouldn't be having these, doing these romantic things for each other as much as you both find desirable. But if for no, it's like with any other holiday, just because something is good to do whenever you can doesn't mean it's bad to have a day to highlight and to emphasize it. Especially because for someone like me who enjoys over the top romantic gestures, both giving them and receiving them, if I give over the top romantic gestures to my future boyfriend / husband all the time, then I'm marking my calendars for Valentine's Day because that means I get the opportunity to go all that more step bigger. Just like I like doing nice things for my friends every day out of the year, but Christmas is when I mark my calendar to go as over the top as I can feasibly manage.
Like I'm exposed by virtue of being black and bi, mostly gay, admittedly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm exposed to more like suffering porn, to more oppression porn than most. So like for once
Yeah.
out of a day, I'd like something that doesn't remind me that like I'm placed in some sort of like prison because I have more melanin than like Dalton.
You're in a concentration camp, but it's even worse than Nazi Germany because at least the Nazis had the decency to actually build the physical concentration camp. The Social Justice Warriors require you to just imagine you're constantly in the concentration camp, and they don't even put in the effort to build the fucking things.
So what I was going to say was, again, my own personal preference is I would prefer to do those kind of grand gestures of love. Make every day feel like Valentine's Day.
That would be great.
That's just me, and
I agree with that.
I'm not.
But I mean, then again, even if that's your attitude, Valentine's Day is kind of a day when you can go even one, go even put yourself to go even further. Is sort of my attitude.
That's fine. I'm just saying, like, to me personally, I would prefer to do it. Like, if someone sticks with me, which is going to be a fucking miracle, I'm not going to lie. It's not me talking me down. I'm just saying, like, my personal preference of a significant other is kind of high. So
you will find them. You will find them though, Brainstormer, and when you do, and your children need a godparent, you know who to call.
And I've already been over this, Don. You technically aren't the greatest candidate for parenthood.
And it cut me deep the last time you said it too. Anyway, moving on.
Do you really think you could stop my kids physically if they try to do something stupid?
No, but I am a master of guilt that only Jewish mothers would be able to
I'm sure he could like
beat.
summon an imp or something and have it stop him.
I mean, there is that. There is the good old fashioned Granny Weatherwax patented. Put the fear of me into them so much that they don't do anything wrong around me. Period.
I mean, like, could he stop your children from doing something incredibly stupid? No, but then like
But I could psychologically mindfuck them to the point that they don't want to do anything stupid.
I mean, well, that's kind of psychotic. But like that aside, like you have grandparents that can't stop their grandchildren from doing stuff, but they're still their grandparents and shit.
Also, they're your kids, so they'll have a perfectly functioning moral compass one way or the other. Because
To be fair, I was an idiot when I was a kid, so I kind of expect my kids to be idiots when they're like in their single digits.
But that's your job as the father to deal with. I get to be the one they come to for advice when they need like emotional shit and whatnot, and also
emotional support,
and also being the metaphorical cool uncle.
Actually, they would have already a cool uncle with my uncle. So
well, I mean yes, but you get the dynamic that I'm alluding to here. I'm not besmirching the other people who may occupy this role as well. I'm just saying I would also probably occupy a similar role.
All right. Anyway, we gotta get into this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on. Once more into the breach.
Valentine's Day seems to put uncomfortable pressure on everyone rather than celebrate love. It's an internationally recognized holiday, but why? It's not even a bank holiday. The first issue with Valentine's Day is the feeling of exclusion and loneliness that can perpetuate for single people.
Okay. I wanna hyper autistically highlight the word seems in that first sentence. Because seems in this case implies how it looks in your head. It does. I hate when moralistic Puritans of all kinds do this. How things look in your head is not a reflection of how everyone else thinks. Please own your particular neuroses, your own particular shit. Your problems with a thing do not denote some larger society-wide problem with a thing. And this goes just as much for social justice types as it goes for traditionalists or even just like very like soccer momish normies. The problems you perceive in a thing are your responsibility to argue for, defend, and convince people of. You cannot just defer to this nebulous conception of all society kind as though the way your head works is perfectly normal and everyone else either already adheres to it or should. God damn it.
So here's my thing, right? Like I said earlier, if we were to follow what this person says, like there are so many customs that your culture could not like indulge in because someone somewhere.
Some people don't feel joy, so joy is outlawed. It's basically the logic.
I mean, thank you. It's like at what point can we agree that people are allowed to feel differently than you?
It's like it's why I hate the like guilt porn that always shows up around Christmas time. I love everything else about Christmas, but I hate the guilt porn because there is this guilt porn where like we have to look at everyone lower and downtrodden than us and feel bad because we have more or because we can afford the nice things or the excesses rather than the more constructive approach of share the joy and make the people who are sad feel less sad. It's share the burden of the sadness so that the people who are happy get brought down rather than raising the people who are sad up.
It's a lot like this sort of body positivity movement, what's happened to it. It's no longer about being, happy about the way you are. It's about guilting other people into being into being like you are.
It's no longer I can look however I look and still be sexy. It's we should just abolish the concept of sexiness because it allows people to make choices and
It,
choices are bad.
Exactly, because it's kind of like how they refer to like going on a diet as diet culture and a toxic thing that needs to be gotten rid of. Because like, how dare you want to lose weight, 500-pound man?
Yeah, like yeah. Unless you're 500 pounds of muscle, then I'm joining the other side. Like you are pretty. You should be left alone. But that's neither here nor there.
I don't have anything to say to that per se. I mean, when I was a teenager, I guess I felt the kind of going in the first issue they bring up of like feeling exclusion and loneliness. To be fair, that's just really any teenager going through. Like,
honestly, it is something that happens around Valentine's Day for me, but I don't then go on to conclude my resentment is correct and Valentine's Day should be outlawed. I I have this thing we call self-awareness, and I acknowledge that when I am feeling lonely and sad and upset, my loneliness, sadness, and upsetness is at least to some degree my problem and
Pretty
not
much.
and not a reason to ban everything I don't like.
Exactly. Like, yeah, you're going to feel like loneliness for something because, like, if you're lacking something and you see someone else with that something, you might feel a little jealousy. But jealousy isn't an excuse to like take something from someone else or to punish them because you
oh
don't
yeah,
have
right.
it.
Like
So
funny story actually. I met my ex like the weekend after Valentine's Day. And then like almost a year to the day, like I think it was probably like the day before Valentine's Day was when we broke up. Now granted, some of that was because we met just before COVID happened
Yeah.
and he didn't have a car, so we couldn't like physically meet up. So it was a long distance thing. Some of that was personal issues that I will not go into. But nevertheless, it's funny to me that one of the things that led me to dating my ex was that sort of Valentine's Day adjacent I'm worthless and I'll never find anyone to love me kind of feeling. Um, but but if my relationship with my ex is any indication, I should not indulge those feelings, and I mostly shouldn't be on dating apps around Valentine's Day because pain happens when I do that.
So I also have kind of an example. Granted, this was kind of like during my high school days. I had these friends who were a couple, like couple throughout all of high school, and even like were engaged their senior year.
Uh-huh.
Very happy.
The ones that were so into each other they kind of made you feel like a third wheel. Those guys.
That and also I fucking hated them for it too. Like, just fuck you for being fuck you for showing me happiness of a relationship that I want. Like,
Curse the happiness that I cannot have. God, I get you.
Pretty
I,
much, yeah, I get you.
yeah, obviously.
I had the same thing when the guy who the first guy I ever had a crush on in high school got married a couple of months ago, and I knew he was straight. I knew that he was way out of my league, and I knew that he would never swing. Even if he did swing that way, he probably wouldn't go for someone like me. I knew all of these things, and I knew we weren't even that like close to begin with. But when he got married, I had this moment of like it felt like a loss, even though there was nothing there to lose.
I mean,
But sorry, to interrupt. I was just gonna say, like,
no, go ahead.
I say that obviously I say that in jest because I'm still very happy for them, and they were cool people. I don't hang out with them much, just different paths in life, obviously. and we're not really close distance-wise to hang out or anything. But yeah, it was kind of like that. I think kind of amplified somewhat of a, and again, just the whole depressed emo teenager thing that I'm sure all of us went through.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There was a lot of that.
I dressed like an emo hipster for a time.
I sat alone every day at lunch until my junior year of high school when I actually maintained a semi-solid group of friends.
I've never had like even in high school or whatever, I've never had like a group of like friends, you know? I've always mostly just been like kind of a loner for the most part. It wasn't until like after high school that that started to open up for me.
Yeah. The thing that really pissed me off was one time my mom was shopping at the market, and one of the parents of someone I went to school with said to my mother, "Oh, it makes me feel really bad to know that Dalton is sitting by himself every day." And on the one hand, I appreciate the sentiment, but on the other, my brain immediately went, well, if you feel bad enough to tell your mom about it and for her to tell my mom about it, then you could try to approach me and solve the problem. Like, this wouldn't be hard to figure out, I'm thinking, but never mind.
But honestly, I think like towards my second half of high school, junior and senior year,
Yeah.
I just kind of stopped caring about Valentine's Day, and like where I really kind of slid my idea of like, if I'm going to do romantic gestures, I'm not going to just do it one day, right? If I have someone, I'm going to make sure they know I love them in a grand way, for as long as possible and reasonably. Obviously, I don't want to like come off too strong, but yeah, like now I don't particularly care too much about it. Again, nothing to say like I don't have negative feelings toward it. It's just more, I guess you could say, apathetic towards Valentine's Day than anything.
I for obvious I wasn't out reasons couldn't really celebrate Valentine's Day romantically in high school. In middle school, I actually did a little bit because I had a girl that I liked, and I got her a little like gift bag for Valentine's Day once. But that's neither here nor there. My mom actually always, when we were kids, would get us a little like gift bag on Valentine's Day. It was always really sweet.
Something else I think turned me off, but we'll get back into the article. Obviously, something else I realized kind of turned me off to Valentine's Day is, believe it or not, I have asked out a couple girls before.
Yeah.
I almost threw up my heart, but I did it.
Do I need to make a list of people who rejected you that need to be cursed?
No, it was pretty mutual on the fact that it didn't really hurt. I just asked, and okay.
Okay. They escaped my friend rage by proxy this time.
Well, also the point of it's been years, so I've kind of gotten over it. And two, I don't remember their names.
Like that's how I kind of feel. Although I still remember my ex's names, like I've gotten over it too. It's been like years or so.
Well,
I never asked anyone out, so I don't really have much in the way of rejection.
Right. But yeah. Anyway, shall we continue?
Yeah. Hey, commiseration over lost love stories is part of the Valentine's Day tradition. So us being off topic isn't that off topic actually.
And it gets us away from this fucking article. So
yeah. Anyway, let's soldier on through because we still have another article to do as well.
We might have to call it after this one, to be fair. So.
I mean, it depends on how many tangents we go on.
There is a lot of societal pressure to find a date for events. Freshman music education major Natalie Carrick, if I'm saying name wrong, I'm sorry, understands what this pressure looks like. People apologize when you don't have a Valentine, said Carrick. In effect, people use this day as a safety net to tell their love interest how they really feel. People are more likely to say yes when being asked out on February 14th, just so they can have Valentine. Okay, that I want.
Sweetheart, go ahead. No, you go ahead first, and then I'll say something.
I was just gonna say I want I want like actual credible sources on that because I've never.
Yeah, data, please.
I'm that. For one thing, if you're asking someone out on February 14th, that kind of means you probably shouldn't.
You probably also you probably should have asked them a week ago so that you could be together on Valentine's Day. But that's just dating advice.
Right. Yeah. But
assuming you're not already in a relationship, yeah, these plans need to be made like a week in advance, especially if Valentine's Day happens to fall on a weekday, and therefore you would need time off depending on when you want to
honestly
be together and so on.
If I were to make plans, I would make it like the 12th or 13th because everyone there's just gonna be a lot of fucking craziness and overcrowding at places on Valentine's Day. So
I mean, yeah, but I guess my definition of romantic gestures for Valentine's Day doesn't really involve that much going out and doing things. Like, for example, one of the things I'd love to do for my significant other on Valentine's Day would be giving him massages on Valentine's Day.
That is super gay.
It really is, actually.
Yeah. No, thank you. I know, but yeah.
I'm actually really impressed. That is really, really gay. Damn.
I did not.
I'm good at massages because I've studied chakras and meridians from all the various magic shit that I.
You're basically a white girl who talks about zodiac signs. God damn.
Hold up, right just now. Like, I am not some coffee swilling yoga mom or a teenager going through their Ouija board phase. I have been studying serious ritual magic and various other kinds of more complex magic for 16 freaking years of my life, thank you very much, which includes the entirety of my adult life.
It's still pretty gay, though.
I mean,
okay, but insult my over the top romanticism and my gayness, fine. But you insulted my honor as a magical practitioner. That is not done, sir. White glove slap.
I'm just saying, like, you know, it's like the TikTok pagans when they talk about like cursing the moon and shit.
Corrupt your watch.
Rage. Okay, first of all, I literally cannot use TikTok because of something stupid that the TikTok witches did. Because they
when they cursed the moon.
They tried to hex the moon, and it resulted in the deaths of a bunch of little folk, and the queens of fairy had a freaking war council meeting over it, and then like five different high priestesses of different various covens died because of the assorted rages of them. Not to mention that the 4 people who originally did it, 4 of them ended up dying of severe cancer, and one of them ended up paralyzed from the waist down because of a car accident. But that's neither here nor there. Anyway, yeah, I am literally terrified of even using TikTok because I have a bargain standing with a fairy queen, and I don't want to die. So no.
Still, man, I did not think you could be any gayer than you are.
I'm actually impressed.
Oh, honey, you don't even you have no idea.
I'm actually impressed. I thought I was fairly gay, but Jesus.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I would do massages for the girl I'm with, but
I mean,
for me, it's almost just a practical consideration because whoever I wind up with is going to be very like fitness focused, and he will be sore a lot from working out, presumably. So massages would be how I would show my affection for him.
Just slather his ass in oil, I guess.
Okay, we're moving on. Say anything else to the last part, or
I am good.
Yeah. Sweet. The other thing I was gonna say, sweetheart. Everyone feels pressure on days which are significant. That's that's kind of what significant means, is that it has a force to it. It obliges things from people. Christmas obliges people to remember family, hearth, home, and pleasantness. Halloween incentivizes people to have whimsy and respect and reverence for the darker aspects of life and or the supernatural. Like, holidays always compel some kind of quote unquote social pressure, because things that matter usually require some degree of work, or at the very least incentivize some degree of work, because things that matter are things we generally care about. And the more you care about something, the more work you generally put into it.
Not to mention
You see.
you can't have cultural celebrations or practices because of some perceived oppression by the majority of how you should feel, you know?
right?
Let's not even get into that.
I also want to mention I've actually, to be fair, I am fully aware of pressure given to a celebration. Granted, it is my uncle's birthday. The only reason I feel pressured by it is because I always forget the date.
Aw.
My reasoning for it is mainly because it is one that is very out far. Because I remember my birthday and my grandfather's birthday because we're in the same month, and my grandmother and mother's birthdays because they're the month after us. His is May 17th. It's so far, and we also don't celebrate it often because he usually goes out with friends.
Uh-huh.
So I at least have some credible reasoning for that.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Like I said, this mentality is so depressing because it's based so incredibly on someone's sensitivities to everything, and it's just like you can't have any sort of celebrations at that point because someone might feel left out.
Some people don't feel joy, therefore the very concept of joy should be outlawed. And we should like do surgeries on people to prevent their brains from secreting dopamine, because then they won't feel joy or something.
There's like a meme that makes fun of that. It said woman sues government because she doesn't feel happy or something to that effect.
You know what the worst part about me always forgetting his birthday is?
What's that?
The motherfucker guilt trips me every fucking time.
Knowing what I know about you and your uncle, that doesn't surprise me, because his uncle constantly just stirs shit with Brainstormer. It's a very affectionate, very good-naturedly ribbing thing, but yeah, Brainstormer's uncle is a little bit of a ponce when it comes to doing things to him.
So to kind of give a brief oversimplification of it, my uncle is basically like my older brother. That's how we basically raised together. And also, he's like Dalton, but he has no sense of personal space.
That's interesting.
Well, and how I define Dalton is he and my uncle like to annoy the fuck out of me all the time.
Oh.
I do it because I love you. And I'm sorry if it ever goes too far.
Well, what I mean by annoy is the puns.
The puns?
Well, it's not as though it's a case of crime and punishment.
That's awful. Get off! Oh my god, that was terrible.
I deal with that every goddamn day.
That's awful.
I only had a few seconds to come up with it. Leave me alone.
Oh, so you come up with better ones?
No, I come up with worse ones, but I put effort into making them so bad. God damn it!
Anyway, yeah,
that's
because awful. That's what puns are for.
Anyway,
Puns don't aim for laughs; they aim for groans. Everyone knows that.
yeah, it's also another thing. They think my uncle and Dalton think they're funny.
Oh.
Anyway.
No, I know I'm not funny, but I've never let that stop me before. I'm not about to now.
That gave me like stage 2 cancer. Jesus Christ, Dalton.
Anyway, we gotta move on.
I guess the cringe is radiating from me.
Oh Jesus!
But ching.
I swear to God, I am going to punch you. All the punches I'm going to give you when we actually meet up in person, man.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Ugh. It's like it's like the cringe is draining from me right now. Holy shit.
I think you lived off cringe.
I didn't think I could be defeated by puns. I do.
It's cringe tonight.
Oh God.
Moving on. Before me and Corrupt lose our fucking sanity. Well, I lose my sanity. Whatever Corrupt has, he'll lose.
Oh hey.
He'll probably go so insane that it becomes super sane, like some versions of the Joker that are meta aware.
Oh yeah, like what is it? Jack Napier or whatever his.
Yeah, I forget which versions of the Joker are super sane and which aren't, because they kind of writers will go back and forth as to whether the Joker's insanity makes him meta aware or not.
Isn't he supposed to be Jack Napier?
I think that's the incarnation. It might very well be the Joker incarnation from Killing Joke, though. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. This can hurt feelings later when the relationship doesn't actually work. If the love interest says no, then the person who asked the question can brush it off as getting caught up in the celebration of Valentine's Day.
Okay, that actually sounds like a good thing, though. Having that out sounds like a positive thing. In any case, to emphasize this again, I get what this person is talking about, because I literally met my ex because I was having that I'm worthless because no one will ever care about me feeling around Valentine's Day, and we also ended things right near Valentine's Day. Although, in fairness to him, it was mutual as hell, and we both we're both still on relatively decent speaking terms, so it could have been a lot worse. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, because my longest relationship, which lasted a little bit over a year, both began and ended around Valentine's Day. So I get what you're talking about. The difference, my dear, is that I acknowledge that my shit is my responsibility. You see your victimhood or your trauma or your emotional sadness as an excuse to morally arbitrate over all of existence. Do you see how that's not entirely healthy, sustainable, or rational?
I think that's ultimately the difference between people like this and people like yourself. It's that like their emotions take priority over other people. So if their feelings are hurt, it doesn't matter how other people feel. The only thing that matters is how they feel.
I'm upset, so no one can feel happy until I'm feeling better.
It's kind of what happened to the body positive movement, and why it's gone from everybody is sexy at whatever size to like, if you're thin, then you're anorexic and evil and you're somehow fat phobic.
And if you're muscular, you're a fascist or something.
Yes.
Also the word obesity is the new N-word.
Yeah, which, speaking of what we were talking about earlier, with the fact that there are no attractive gay characters in comics or fiction anymore, this is yet another thing I hate, because it's slowly but surely removing all the attractive people from existence, and I like looking at and hopefully someday being with attractive people. Is that so much to ask, that I should be allowed to enjoy people who look attractive?
I
God
noticed
damn
that
it.
too. A lot of portrayal of gay men are usually like really old dudes or people who aren't really conventionally quote unquote attractive. Whereas
No, because
lesbians get to be like
Goddesses.
super sexy. Yeah, they get to
yeah,
be super
but
sexy.
every lesbian is a leather wearing Black Widow esque ninja who can strut down the street and have everyone look at her. And basically, your options as a lesbian are sexy witch or sexy ninja or just sexy sexy in general.
Pretty much, yeah.
Anyway, shall we move on?
Yeah, moving on.
You know what? I actually might change. We might have to move the next article to next week, because I think there is some I think Corrupt would like to see.
Ooh.
Oh God, yes. Anyway, let's move on.
This holiday is an excuse for people to act out and hide their true feelings without consequences. If you like someone, you should tell them regardless of what day it is. No shit.
As if you have control over when and how you tell people that you like them. Like, that is one of the most quintessential universal human things ever. We all feel insecure about telling people we like them. Like, this is unless you are literally a 6 foot tall person with like 300 pounds of muscle and a 8 figure bank account, so you can be absolutely sure that no matter who you hit on, they will like you. And even then, most of those guys are still surprisingly sensitive and like shy when it comes to telling people they like them too. So basically everyone, except for narcissists who think they're the greatest thing ever to walk on 2 legs or otherwise, um, has these feelings of trepidation when they like someone. It is the most quintessential human universal, and you are poo-pooing it. Which leads me back to the aforementioned narcissists who think they're the most important thing to ever walk on 2 legs category that I mentioned earlier.
Very
And
much.
could you possibly be in this category, writer of this article?
Pretty much just arrogant fucking narcissist who just has no ability to even comprehend how other people feel about shit.
It's genuinely baffling because I never thought I would have to explain that. I never thought I would have to explain, hey, did you know people of all kinds and all walks of life feel awkward about asking out people they like? Like, that should not have ever needed to be a thing that needed to be said. But you horrifying person, needed something so elementary that it doesn't even require words to explain
This
to
article
you. Like,
this article is so weird. It comes from such a position of entitlement where like you're so sensitive that you think it's like the person thinks they shouldn't have to feel any sort of sadness or obligation or anything, and that like feeling any sort of like isolation from another group is somehow an offense it's somehow like a
yeah.
personal slight against them. It's so bizarre.
But as a result, it means they'll also never feel satisfaction. Because
Pretty
part of the
much.
reason we all put up with that thing I just mentioned, that feeling trepidatious about asking out the person we like, is because every great now and again the stars align and it actually works. And the euphoria you get as a result of that makes all the bullshit leading up to it okay. Like, when and if the person actually reciprocates, and this also happens a lot, where the person didn't ask you out or didn't think you would want them because they valued you in the same way you valued them. When that happens, it is kismet. Like, the sky almost literally opens and the like angelic choir sings when that happens. And because you don't ever let yourself feel the trepidation that literally everyone feels with regards to their potential romantic partners, you also are walled off from ever feeling the satisfaction of having that vindicated, or putting in the effort and having the effort amount to something. It's kind of sad. You're stuck in this neutral limbo where you might never feel any great sadness, but you'll also never feel any joy. Anyway, moving on.
It's
Okay.
like I want to say it's a little sad, but I mean, these people kind of bring it on themselves, so I can't really feel sorry.
I mean they do, but honestly, to me, that almost makes it more sad. Of like, you didn't have to ruin this part of your life. You didn't have to make you didn't have to. My friend Nick, who is a gamer, has this phrase that he likes to use a lot, where he says, "You didn't have to have the bad ending, but now you're in the bad ending."
Oh,
And
sorry, I just saw
and
the date for this. It was published on February 7th, 2019.
Okay, but in any case, I'm gonna borrow his phrase for a second, because like, you didn't have to have the bad ending. There were plenty of other options available, but you wound up with the bad ending anyway. And on that point of, because I can somewhat relate to self-sabotage and not knowing you're in the wrong, until you have to until you're faced with the consequences of being in the wrong. I can relate to that, but it's still sad, because it's like, if things had just shaken out a little different, this person could be happy, and now they probably never will be. Now happiness is a foreign entity to the rest of their life, and it's kind of sad.
Because they've basically sort of like turned into this.
Yeah, because they gave in to morality flavored lies, and now here we are.
Ooh, I like that prose.
Thank you.
Moving on.
Yep.
Yeah. This holiday. I read that. Sorry. Along with the pressure to find a date is the pressure to please your date. Motherfucker, that is just a date.
I mean, okay, I'm gonna once again explain basic human, like, just existence to you now again, because, sweetheart, getting get the pressure to please your date occurs because you value them, and you consider them worth putting the effort in, and you want their pleasure, you want their joy, you want this person who you idealize in some way, because most of the time when we get butterflies, it's because we're idealizing someone in some way. That's just, again, human nature. You want this person who you think the world of, and who you think is above you in many different ways, to brighten your world by being satisfied by your efforts. Like, that is love in its essence. You want to bask in the glow of someone else's happiness because you value them. One of those things I didn't think I would ever have to explain, but here we are.
It's
And you consider the person who wrote this article considers it a burden to have to express love in any way whatsoever, apparently.
I remember that, like, this may seem like a meme, but it's not. I've seen articles where I think it was a woman actually said, like, basically her son, because her son I think was white and adopted, and he asked her about like what college he should go to, because obviously you're going to ask your parents like important things like what college I should go to, what I should do, so on and so forth. And she complained that he was basically putting emotional labor on her, and that it was like unfair for him to ask her questions like that because of some sort of emotional labor that she was going through.
His
Because
o- his own mother said this to him.
yes,
Sweet, merciful freaking Hecate, what the hell?
And she complained about it. She's like, is it fair for him to put me through this kind of emotional labor? And it's like,
You're a mother. This should not only doesn't this count as emotional labor, it shouldn't be labor at all, because it should be one of those things that naturally follows from. Okay, and this is a slightly different side tangent, but this is something else I hate about pseudo-intellectuals of all kinds, but in particular the moralistic pseudo-intellectuals like these people. They seem to have a hatred for causality. They seem to have a hatred of the notion of one thing following as a natural consequence from another thing, to the point that they consider it intellectual and high-minded when things don't follow in a linear transactional causality from other things. Like you'll see this all the time, particularly when someone asks, I do X, Y, or Z nice things for people. Why is there never any transactional reciprocation? Why does no one ever return my efforts with efforts of their own? They'll say something like, it's entitlement to act like things should be transactional and linearly causal, or it's entitlement to act like your efforts deserve reciprocation. And I'm left sitting there going, bitch, it's just cause and effect. What the hell? Like, far be it from me to expect cause and effect to be linked in any sort of meaningful way. No. In fact, it's high-minded to never expect an effect to be preceded by a cause, and never expect a given cause to result in a logically consistent effect. Like that's what intellectualism means now, apparently. I hate that shit.
He has a point.
And the vilification of transactions rubs me the wrong way too, because in my opinion, transactions are beautiful, because a good transaction is always perfectly rational, perfectly balanced, and results in everyone getting something they want. That's what transactions are under most rational circumstances. You do X, you get Y, everyone goes away happy. Pretty much, yeah. There's something beautiful about that kind of logical construct, and I hate this vilification of, you just want everything to be transactional. Yes, shouldn't you? Transactions are beautiful and rational. What the hell? Anyway, moving on.
There are some serious stereotypes that go along with this holiday. We expect guys to get girls very nice and expensive gifts, while girls are not often expected to reciprocate. Every person participating should communicate with their partner about a budget. If you want to exceed beyond the materialistic side of Valentine's Day, one thing to consider would be investing in an experience together.
Okay. Again, like I just ranted. I guess I jumped the gun. There you see it. The vilification of transaction, the vilification of reciprocation, the vilification of a cause being returned by an effect. Like, not just how would you live, but how can you live when you actually consider it a moral good for causes not to be followed by effects, or for a given effort to not be returned or reciprocated or balanced in any way? How can anything good exist in your world, in your bubble of influence, if you genuinely think reciprocation and transaction and causality are childish, simplistic evils? I get it, because I've read the theory, I've read the actual academic justification, but it sounds like hell in my head.
What, to basically exist like this?
To not just never expect a effort to be returned or reciprocated in any way, but to actually consider it entitlement to expect any sort of linear causality or linear transaction to occur in anything resembling a social or interpersonal relationship. Like, if I went to hell, the devil himself could not design a more perfect torture mechanism for me than a world where I would do a reasonable, rational thing and no amount of causality or transaction would follow from it. It literally sounds like it literally sounds like the very psychological definition of gaslighting. Someone does a reasonable thing, and you either A, return their reasonableness with pain, or B, consider them morally inferior for expecting anything reasonable to result from this. That is my definition of hell, or it would be my personal pocket of hell if I went to hell. Anyway,
Pretty much. Yeah, I agree with you.
it's just
I mean, I somewhat understand the budgeting thing and the communication between partners.
Right, like, but that's just an organic thing that happens under normal circumstances, where cause A is followed by effect B. Like, people already are pretty good about finding their own equilibrium, and heaven forfend someone would set some time aside or some money aside for special occasions, like, for example, spoiling your loved one on Valentine's Day. Like, God forbid you would actually put effort into something that's supposed to be a celebration of anything.
Pretty much. Like, I feel as if this person, if they could, they would outlaw any like just random holidays that that they didn't like.
Again, it boils down to some people somewhere might feel no joy in regards to this, so joy is now officially outlawed, and we will be giving every citizen brain surgery to remove the part of their brain that produces dopamine.
God, that's as depressing as that sounds. Like, there are people who feel that way.
There,
They would
there,
do that.
there are so many people who basically would do that in order to prevent someone from enjoying something they define as wrong. They will literally destroy their very notion of joy um and or like prevent themselves from experiencing joy. It's just and the reason I phrased it like that is because I didn't want it to apply just to the SJWs, because there are traditionalists who will do this too. You are not allowed to enjoy this because I define it as wrong. Or it basically, again, kind of boils back down to moralism is authoritarian in its very core, because at the core of all of this moral fervor that these people espouse to these various causes is the famous quote, when people have the freedom to choose, they choose wrong, so we simply will not give them the freedom to choose.
No, I've seen. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. That's very true.
Right. So moving on.
Yeah.
Concert tickets, road trip, and zipline are all experiences that couples can do together to celebrate the relationship. This takes the pressure off finding the perfect surprise or the perfect gift. Perfect price. Sorry.
Again, pressure in this case particularly comes from how much you hold the other person in regard, how much you care about the other person, because that's let me translate basic bitch human to moralist fucktard, okay? The phrase "I love you" usually means I love you and I want you to be happy, up to and including putting effort into making you happy. That is what I love you means in overly elaborate academic speak. Okay, so that pressure you feel to put in effort to make people happy is because you care about them and you want them to be happy. And you appear to be describing that very simple, very obvious thing as a burden. You find it a burden not only to put the effort in to make someone happy, but to even want someone to be happy in the first place. That's sickening, actually.
Like I said, it goes back to the thing I told you about with the mother and the son. It's like other people's, I guess, emotions are considered labor to them, basically.
Like, and I can understand that because generally speaking, I don't like dealing with people. It's frustrating. It never works, and most people, quite frankly, aren't worth the effort. I understand this notion of other people dealing with other people is somewhat of a burden. But you know what? I think there's virtue in the attempt. I think there's virtue in making the attempt. And what's more, just because most people are not worth my fucking time doesn't mean there aren't people who are worth my fucking time. And what's more, because dealing with people is difficult for me, when I find someone that I connect with, they become the most beautiful treasure I could possibly ever possess. And that's why I get psychotically angry when anything happens to them that's bad.
Like, I agree. I couldn't agree with you more, actually.
It's just I understand the notion that dealing with people is hard and can be a burden. But your options are either A, take on that burden in the hopes that someone who you find might be worth taking on that burden for, hi guys, or you could seek to prevent that burden from ever occurring again. And I'm sorry, but that is the wrong answer. That is definitively the wrong answer, and you should feel bad for ever even considering that as a possible answer.
The fact that the thing that amazes me is the fact that you have people who are so, I guess, I hate using the word entitled. It feels overused, but who are entitled to feeling that any sort of just talking to them in any way that isn't pleasant to them is somehow a burden. So if I talk to you and you're like my sister or my brother or something, am I bothering you? It just it amazes me.
It's almost as though they want every interaction they ever have to be solely about them, and if anything occurs that doesn't worship the ground they walk on like a goddamn god, they see it as they're being denied their true status in the world or some shit.
I feel that way, yeah.
So ready to move on?
Yeah.
Another aspect of Valentine's Day to consider is the LGBT plus community.
Oh, I thought we were going to go here.
Yeah, Valentine's Day is undeniably a commercialized holiday, and it targets and caters to heteronormative society. There is obviously nothing wrong with being straight, but there is something wrong with being inconsiderate of people who aren't.
Bitch, please.
Are you serious?
Yeah, bitch, please. Not only are gay men perfectly fine with the notion of Valentine's Day, but also gay men in general have a tendency, or at least a reputation, for being prone to overly romantic gestures, which is part of the reason why what I said earlier got the "that is the gayest thing I've ever heard" reaction from both a straight guy and someone else who's gay. So yeah, not only do gay men like Valentine's Day, a lot of them flourish in it.
Not to mention, I feel like this criticism might have been relevant in the 40s, but nowadays Valentine's Day isn't just for the heteros.
Also, one of the industries that gay people are overrepresented in is anything resembling luxury or romance industries. Fashion designers, mostly gay men. Chocolatiers, mostly gay men. People who love fine food, wine, art, music, etc. The entire ballet industry is propped up mostly by gay men and a few women. Like, what the actual hell? And the biggest day of the year for a lot of these luxury romance sort of industry, luxury and or romance industries is Valentine's Day. So, do you basically want to crash the gay economy in the name of making Valentine's Day more inclusive? Because a lot of gay men have gotten very wealthy off of um a husband buying his wife that dress she likes, or splurging on $1,000 box of chocolates, or whatever cheesy romantic gesture happens to be the cheesy romantic gesture du jour. God, that. Oh, also, again, I've never known gay men to ever have a problem with Valentine's Day.
Nor have I. I kind of thought there would be some sort of oppression narrative weaved into the overall article, because these articles kind of follow a particular
Invariably,
yeah
it's
they
yet
kind of
another sad
follow a
thing about the way
particular
their
theme.
minds work is they can't ever think about something other than oppression for 5 seconds.
These articles always follow some particular theme, and that theme usually revolves around oppression of some group.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, yeah, same with me. Granted, I don't know a lot. I'll be honest. You guys are pretty much the only gay people I know.
You also, though, to be fair, don't get out much. So the fact that you know two of us is already you're already oversampled, probably.
Well, no, I think I knew some, not personally, but I knew of some gay kids in like high school and stuff.
That doesn't surprise me.
I just never interacted with them, just because different circles and stuff.
Yeah. But in any case, like, are how like, okay, most like Valentine's Day cards might feature a woman and a man on it, but even then, a lot of Valentine's Day cards don't feature any pictures. Period. And
Yeah,
what
it's usually just like "I love you."
what's more, there is basically an entire subgenre of much in the same way as there's a subgenre of like gay romance and gay erotica. There's a subgenre of Valentine's Day cards that are specifically targeted towards this demographic, and I would give this article some leeway if it were written like in 2013, 2014, maybe, but this was written in frickin' 2019. Like, gay people are, if anything, slightly overrepresented in particular in like the romance and over the top romantic gesture sphere.
What is going on?
Anyway, shall we move on or anything?
Let's go.
Go ahead.
All of the heteronormative ads and commercials on TV can really make people who also celebrates the holiday feel alienated. However, freshman music therapy major Emily Whitman feels that it's more of a judgment-free day. Hold on. Sorry, I was going to read the quote. Though Valentine's Day has been deemed cliche by society, I see it as a way to show how much I care about my partner. Like many in the LGBT plus community, I feel we haven't had the chance to be cliche as many over sexualized LGBT relationships. It's a day to show our love for one another without having to worry about what others think.
Okay, yeah, this person is the person that the author of the article is quoting is at least sane. But yeah, again, I want to highlight this. You wrote this in 2019. So there is absolutely no way you can still feel like gay people aren't represented in these kind of adverts and in movies and stuff. Like Perks of Being a Wallflower was the biggest romance movie of its year, and it came out in, I want to say, 2015. So like, and turn on any ad in this day and age, and you're likely gonna get some black guys, some Asian guys, and some gay people. Like that's
Pretty much.
and of course some women of all kinds. But
Pretty much. If anything, lesbians are overrepresented in terms of like homosexual representation. And
yeah,
so
we
if this person is a woman, they're like the last is a gay woman, they're like the last person that should be having
yeah.
a relationship.
I think we've been talking about this literally since we met, but I've often just taken to referring to female on female couples as the marketable version of gay,
Yes.
because not only are there gay characters in everything now, but 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a female on female couple.
Yeah, it's
And
gonna
the
be a female relationship, yeah.
and the reason is because of the various subtypes of gay that it's possible to be. Almost no one has a problem with female on female relationships. All of the almost all of the actually homophobic sermons by fundamentalist preachers or screeds against the gay agenda are focused on people not
And
liking male sexuality, basically. And I
yeah.
know it's cliche for me to bring that up because I am a men's rights advocate, but it must be said that lesbians are the most marketable variety of gay.
They
And
are the
and
safe
most of,
gay,
and
yeah.
most of the stigma against homosexuality comes from an earlier age where the rationale was gay men are men who don't love women and they love other men. There's clearly something amoral and wrong with them. And or the fact of people like seeing women in any romantic situation, period. They don't give a fuck literally about male sexuality.
Also, I would argue that like one of the reason why in some media and fiction, a lot of the the male, like the representation of men who are gay is typically like unattractive men, is so that women can still so that women can still project themselves into
Yeah,
a relationship with that man, right? You can't
which
do
is
that
which is
immediately.
also how we got the feminist rationale of accepting homosexuality of gay men are similar to women and therefore they're subject to the same oppressions as women, therefore. When in actuality, historically, the actual traditionalist argument against male homosexuality was gay men are men who don't love women, therefore there must be something wrong with them. Also, it must be said that the largest consumer of lesbian porn is actually straight men.
Yeah.
So moving on.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like a paragraph left.
Hooray, we're almost done.
Yay! Finish line.
Although Valentine's Day can provide good times and fond memories, I believe that it is important to be aware of the workings of society so that we can make changes accordingly in the future. Valentine's Day, among other commercialized holidays, is something to reconsider. What message does Valentine's Day give when there's a one single day a year that we celebrate our love for each other? Shouldn't we be loving and appreciative all the time? Yeah, no shit.
And again, Brainstormer and I have batted this particular point back and forth a dozen times now. But the way I look at Valentine's Day is I'm still fine with being romantic to my hypothetical future significant other whenever the urge strikes me, and it will strike me often. But as with any holiday, I like spoiling the people I care about on general principle, but holidays give me the indulgence to go that one extra mile because that's kind of what it's there for. All the virtues of all the various holidays are good virtues to have regardless, but having a day set aside specifically to venerate, celebrate, and highlight those qualities is a good thing. Even if you don't need a day to remind you to be affectionate to your significant other, you can use it as a day to overindulge in your love of your significant other. And why would that upset anyone? Also, again, I hate to do this a second time, but your problems with this day are your problems with this day. You cannot just take the moral high ground on by fiat and claim that your opinions are all of society's opinions. You very scary moralistic fuck.
I speak for all the homosexuals.
No.
Dalton's just no. It's killed me.
I like there's only so much I can put up with before it's just like nope. I've stated my rationales for this 1,000 times, and my rationales have not been rebutted. Therefore, no.
Well, moving on to some cringe for Corrupt.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's a bit impromptu, and I'm sure everyone will see this trailer, or has heard about this one. It came out about 2 weeks ago.
Oh no.
Harley Quinn, a very problematic Valentine's Day special.
What?
Special trailer.
Oh no. That's how I feel about that conversation. Oh no.
Ha ha.
All right, let's take a look at this then.
Ha ha.
Full disclosure, never seen Harley Quinn, never intended to. I think we covered like the first trailer for the first season.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
It's not very good. It's basically Archer for soccer moms and feminists.
Yeah, that's actually a great way of describing it.
But Archer's funny though.
Hence the modifiers, dude.
Fair enough.
Anyway, haha.
I feel like there's a. Is there a Valentine's Day specific or?
A very.
Oh, okay. I suppose so, but let's think. What is?
Everything is couched in such gay terminology now. Like, oh my god.
Chocolate covered strawberries are like the quintessential Valentine's Day.
I was gonna go candy hearts.
Like, you can't even have a conversation or a title of something that's even a little edgy without like a modifier like problematic.
Yeah, because whether you and I like it or not, feminism is the morality that our culture runs on, basically. Like social justice, critical theory, and feminism are basically what our culture runs on now.
Anyway, shall we candy hearts?
Yeah.
We shall candy hearts, yes.
Holy shit, do I love Valentine's Day? Not only is it the gushiest, mushiest, most romantic day of the year, but for 24 hours you have a bulletproof excuse for doing cheesy shit for your partner. What's not to love about Valentine's Day?
Just as long as it's low-key.
Okay, base Harley Quinn. I never thought I would say that. Base Harley Quinn.
Is the sound coming through okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming through okay for me.
Yeah, it's fine.
Because a part of me is wondering if I forgot to share audio when I was presenting it.
No, you're fine. But see, I have mixed feelings about this because doing Harley Quinn as a Valentine's Day holiday special is actually a really good idea. In the same way that the Addams Family adaptations are always a really good idea, because you could do such over-the-top satirical shit with her and the Joker, or you could also do it with her and Poison Ivy. I am kind of annoyed that the premise of this show requires that her and the Joker are broken up, because I want to see what their equivalent to like Gomez and Morticia's over the top shenanigans are. But I also really like Harley and Ivy, so bring it on.
I think the thing that kind of bugs me with this whole show and the thing is the art style.
I hate the fact that Poison Ivy went from like a sexy femme fatale to just the gay girlfriend of Harley Quinn.
Well, I actually, as far as the characters in this show go, and mind you, the bar is very, very low here, but Ivy is the one I like the most, basically because they kind of turned her into like a Daria or Raven style character, where she's very like dry and semi-serious and sarcastic, which
Yeah.
I like those type of characters. So it doesn't bother me a lot. I get what you're saying though, because it is a very atypical Poison Ivy. Also, I just noticed this out of the corner of my eye. Is that supposed to be Etrigan the Demon?
Yeah, he has a name tag.
Is that the design for Etrigan the Demon in the show?
Yes.
Because I will literally burn that studio down with hellfire if I have to. Oh my god, what have they done to Etrigan?
He looks like Goliath from the Gargoyles. Holy shit, that's
It would be
hilarious.
cool if they actually had the right proportions.
Also, his yellow is way too, like, not even Batman the Brave and the Bold was that over the top with his color scheme. His yellow was way too bright. Like way too light yellow. And it wouldn't be as noticeable if there was actual line work. But this is just a criticism I have of modern animation in general. Where the fuck are all the lines? There need to be lines on things.
Do you mean heavy lines? Because there are plenty of lines on him. I just don't think they're noticeable unless you're like really looking.
But no, I mean like actual like, yeah, heavy lines. Because like the reason line work or heavy lines used to be in animation was because it added like depth and weight to things. This new animation style where there are no heavy lines to speak of just gives you the impression that nothing has any substance to it, and I hate it.
Anyway, shall we?
Candy Hearts.
Candy Hearts.
Candy Hearts.
Mars, women, Venus. Let me guess, you want to have a bigger penis, right? Well,
Who is pumped for the best CD ever?
it's all cool, dead eyes, from across the room. Dark side is in love.
I missed Etrigan's joke because I was too
So
distracted
Wonder Woman
by
is gay in this show too?
Well, okay, that doesn't bother me because Wonder Woman has always been at least implied to be bisexual, and that started even when William Moulton Marston was doing it in the Golden Age.
No, I'm fine with her being bisexual. That's why I said gay. Like like lesbian, basically.
I honestly don't know because they never focus on the superheroes, obviously.
God damn it.
The thing that also kind of bugs me is like what's the tone? Like, I get funny, weird, and stuff, but
it's like satire. It's basically a feminist satire of like superheroes and shit.
It's a slightly better version of what Velma was doing to Scooby-Doo, but with the DC universe.
Hey, Chronon. No, it won't be. Dawn will go down a hole, and well, it gets non-spicy from there.
I don't know what that's in reference to.
Maybe he means that like you know what, never mind. Go ahead.
Also, this is kind of an issue I have with like quote unquote adult animation.
What's that?
it doesn't. It feels very juvenile.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's basically trying to take the piss out of animation is what's going on there.
That's what. Okay, so Chrono was saying, just call it BS garbage because it is.
I mean yes, but that's
okay.
That's neither here nor there. Okay. I also though want to point out an actual good gay joke or gay comedic moment in a recent DC thing where I think it was in the second.
Okay.
I think it was in the second Justice League Dark movie where Raven is walking with John Constantine and he notices someone staring at him from across the room and he goes, "Bollocks, it's my ex." And Raven asks, "Oh, do you mean Harley?" Because Harley is also standing over there. But John says, "Do I look mad?" And then it pans up to King Shark because King Shark is absurdly tall, of course, and King Shark winks at him. And John blushes. Like that is a much better gay joke than anything that's going on in this whole business. Also, I now ship John and King Shark because that's we've never seen them together, but the implications of that are adorable.
Ugh.
Explanation on the
just like the idea of King Shark fucking somebody is just not attractive to me.
Are you thinking of the live action King Shark?
Let me see.
Yeah, no, because King Shark isn't stupid in most iterations of King Shark.
No, I mean he's basically like a fucking shark man. Like, he's just like
an 8 foot tall demigod shark man.
Yeah, I don't know.
What's not to like?
I mean, I'm not like a furry, so I guess I can't really relate.
It doesn't. I don't like. It doesn't explicitly turn me on, but I don't mind it. Like I don't care, and the implications of John bottoming for King Shark and being embarrassed when he winks at him is just too cute.
Right, but what was that? I was gonna say something. Sorry, we got a little sidetracked there. But the thing I was talking about, like the quote unquote adult animation, that's always gonna be my problem with it. Is it acts very juvenile. You know.
Yeah.
It's not.
Instead of actually using the adult nature of itself to explore adult themes, like good adult animation does, it uses it to be a crass, edgy teenager's version of what adulthood is.
So this is like it's loosely it's in the same vein, but it's not the exact same as both of your complaints. It's in regards to, but it does kind of touch onto the same topic. So you know what the Boondocks is, right? I think both of you know what
yeah. No, I saw that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
black lower middle class Archer, basically.
Yeah. So the Boondocks was supposed to originally been on Fox, or at least it was pitched to Fox, right?
Mm-hmm.
The problem the Fox executives had with it was that it because it's very anime and it's like presentation and like like it's design, and their issue with it was that it looked too pretty and it didn't look like what an adult animation in the West should look like, which is Family Guy or I guess The Simpsons. Exactly. And you could probably also extend that a little bit to the humor, but the design of it was something that he mentioned. Yeah, exactly, that he mentioned. And that kind of got me to thinking that maybe that's how like adult animation in the in the industry is supposed to kind of follow a similar formula. not
Well,
only in
okay.
terms of its like design, but also its comedy stylings.
Right, but here's why at least the design part of that is very, very stupid. Is there a genre of animation growing faster than anime? Because I don't think there is. And I point that out because almost all anime do a very heavy, a very heavy line, realistic art style. And even things that are sort of quasi anime, like Netflix's Castlevania, Trece, and so on, still do that sort of anime-ish, heavy lined, like intricate, complex design art style. And it is the kind of animation adults like to watch probably the most.
I agree with you. I agree with you, but so one, I guess because this was during the time of like the Boondocks like hadn't even come out yet, and that was like probably like 2008 or so.
Yeah, but I mean Fox always shits the bed with regards to their production decisions. They're not good at this.
And that's basically like back then, like adult animation did have like even now I would argue that adult animation still has a bit of a stigma in terms of what it's supposed to look like. Even though you have things like Archer, like Harley Quinn to a degree, a few others like
I was going to bring up an example of what I think an adult's animation, like a good adult animation is.
What's that?
Well, I was trying to pitch this to Don because he hasn't seen it yet. But Arcane, which I said to him was like an adult Avatar: The Last Airbender.
I mean, Arcane. I would say I would agree with that. I think Arcane isn't adult as much as it's like for all. It's kind of like this, right? So, give me exactly so I can explain what I mean. So, like shonen, right? That is a genre specifically meant for young boys and teenagers, right? Teenage males. However, the themes and are able to like cross demographics, and the themes
like 90s comic book.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Constantine and Preacher and things like that.
Exactly. That's what I would classify Arcane as. Like, I wouldn't say it's expressly adult because if you're a teenager, you can actually appreciate it as well. And I think that's what Arcane is.
Right. I want to just define what I meant because I did have to explain this to Don as well.
All right.
In terms of adult. In terms of Avatar: Last Airbender, it's very much mature, right? Like it has a lot of mature concepts and ideas.
It's probably the smartest. It's probably the smartest adaptation of, like Eastern mysticism for like a young Western audience, with the possible exception of Jackie Chan Adventures, just because the research they did for Uncle's Magic in that show was really, really good, actually.
Well, anyway, back to my point. The reason why I say an adult Avatar: Last Airbender is in terms of the writing for the characters, the like very in-depth, diverse in terms of like thought and experience and just personalities. And the I lost my world building as well. It was very great world building. Like Avatar: Last Airbender. That's why I say, and kind of the adult element that I'm speaking of are kind of the more, because Avatar: Last Airbender, while it did push the envelope a few times,
it was still kids and family show basically.
Yeah, it was still limited. Like it had a certain threshold it could not cross.
Got pretty close with the Puppet Master, though. To be fair, Jesus Christ, the Puppet Master.
But Arcane doesn't technically have to follow that. So that's kind of what I meant when I said Avatar.
So it's in the same niche as something like Castlevania or Trece, in that it can go more dark and adult when it needs to.
Yeah,
I would say that.
But it's not gratuitous like Harley Quinn is, in terms of the violence or anything. Like it has purpose and stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, we got way off into the weeds, but let's get back on to
hold on. SOTOG Gaming. this show is actually kind of good. At least Harley is, as she pretty much does try to help Bruce overcome his trauma, and pretty much has been one of my favorite Western animation. While the Joker actually doing what he does in the show kind of makes sense for some.
Like, Bruce is like some whiny bitch boy that went to prison for tax evasion. At least that's what I remember for the show.
I want to believe you, Ahsoka, but all the clips I've seen of the show out of context make me lean more in Corrupt's direction. I may be stoned for not giving this show a chance, but honestly, I don't like modern cheerleader-esque Harley Quinn very much on general principle. So I have a limited tolerance for Harley outside of the original Batman animated series and things that take cues from it.
Ahsoka saying Harley and that stuff was good. She isn't saying the entire show was good. Certain elements.
Oh, okay. As in her character specifically. Well, I mean, she is the main character, so good for them for giving the main character some substance. But still, I really hate post animated series cheerleader Harley Quinn.
Right. Although I remember Paul Dini, like in one of those behind the scenes featurettes, saying like that's kind of how you're supposed to view in terms of like the relationship between her and the Joker in the animated series, mind you, of like
yeah, as the asshole jock and the groupie cheerleader, but that's not a literal comparison.
I agree. I agree. I'm just pointing it out.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of character dynamic, fine, sure, but for one thing, I kind of prefer when their relationship is played more straight and less abusive, because I like the idea that they're both insane, but their insanities are complementary to each other, so they actually can be meaningfully happy together.
I thought I was the only one who liked that, actually. Holy shit, Dalton! I didn't know you liked that too. I thought I was the only one who liked that aspect.
Well, it's kind of the same thing with Gomez and Morticia. They are both insane, and if they were together with anyone other than them, they would probably kill their partners or a string of partners, because neither of them really have a problem with killing people. But because they are together and because their idiosyncrasies and insanities complement each other, they can be meaningfully happy. Right. And I'm fine with Joker and Harley Quinn being the same way, even if they're villains. I mean, for fuck's sake, Draken and Shigo are villains. Shigo considerably more so, but they're both nominally villains, and they get to be happy. Why not let Joker and Harley be the Dark Mirror Universe version of Gomez and Morticia Adams? That makes sense.
Anyway, I do think we should keep going.
Yeah.
Again, this just hurts my brain, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
You must be loving this, Corrupt.
What, this awful fucking shit fest here? Let's see some more.
Oh god.
Whoa. What the hell? They're doing it in the street like animals. Oh, you can't possibly be mad at me for getting you off too good. That is not a thing.
Okay, show. You got me one time. Well done. You get 1 point.
I mean,
you're still in the negative values in terms of points, but you get 1 point.
This was awful. All right, this was like that was for getting you off. That was so cringe. It made me laugh.
I liked it because it was a semi-relatable moment of like imagine getting someone off too well and them being mad at you. That is sort of a stupid things humans would do thing. So I like it on that basis. So you get 1 point, show.
It was so cringe. I thought it was funny.
I mean, I get it. I don't think it's funny, to be fair. Like, even in a cringe sense.
Yeah, but I mean, also to be fair, you don't have Corrupt is a cringe connoisseur. You don't really have a taste for it.
That is true.
One must bathe in the cringe, become the cringe.
I'm good.
Corrupt is basically the cringe equivalent of a sommelier. He's reached expert levels of cringe consumption.
Who
I
is
think the
sommelier?
thing that weirds me out is
Uh,
just
A sommelier is like a wine specialist.
Oh.
You'll get them in like high-end restaurants. You can call them over and they'll like
I know what you're
recommend you can recommend they'll recommend you wines based on your tastes and your palates and so on.
I know what you're talking about.
okay. So there was a guy called the sommelier in John Wick Chapter 2 who basically handled guns and wine.
Yeah.
I
So-
know what you're talking about. Okay.
So yeah. Which, by the way, God, how I love the John Wick movies. I can't wait for Chapter 4.
I think also the thing that weirds me out is just, again, this honestly feels like it's just the whole thing. Like, just this trailer feels like a short film, and we're already towards the end. Like, it's showing so much.
It does give the impression of all the best lines are going to be in the trailer, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Still not the worst case of that I've ever seen. The worst case of that I ever saw was a movie called Bridesmaids. My mom and I, or no, it was Bride Wars. Bride Wars was the one I'm thinking of. My mom and I were looking forward to the movie Bride Wars for years because, unsurprisingly, I like chick flicks, and my mom and I have always kind of bonded over that.
Jesus, you are gay.
Yeah, no shit. But anyway, my mom and I have always used to bond over liking chick flicks. So when we saw the trailer for Bride Wars, it was an amazing trailer, and we were like, "Oh, we gotta see that! I can't wait to see that." And we finally saw it, and literally everything that could conceivably have been thought funny in the entire thing was in the trailer, and every solitary remaining second of it was boring, dull, and made me want to stab my eyes out.
Really?
It was so boring.
It was that boring, really? So
I
what was
swear
the premise of it?
Basically, there were these two women who were best friends, and there was this really elaborate hotel called the Plaza. And ever since they were little girls, they wanted to both get married at the Plaza. And circumstances conspire so that they're both ready to get married at around the same time. And there's only one slot remaining at the Plaza for reservations for weddings. And neither of them wants to move their wedding date, and neither of them wants to be the one to let the other one have it. And so they proceed to get into shenanigans in order to try and besmirch and belittle the other one into giving up the date. And then they wind up acting like adults in the last 5 minutes and realizing, hey, we could just have a double wedding. And then the movie basically ends.
And most of it was just boring?
Like, there were literally 2 minutes worth of jokes in the entire movie, and those 2 minutes were contained entirely and almost unedited in the trailer.
Ooh.
It was so insufferable. Like, my mom and I didn't even get a chance to see it in the theater because we had to wait for it to come out on TV. And we were both so pissed that it kind of ruined our bond over chick flicks for a while because of how bad that movie was.
Anyway.
Yeah,
I think I almost sneezed out.
I'll send you Film Brain's review of it because watching that is much more enjoyable than watching the trailer or the movie.
Anyway, like
All
20 more seconds. So
yeah, Candy Hearts.
Candy Hearts, yeah.
Shit, man, you got a point.
It's not a game while you're trying to play me.
I don't know. That's what I thought. Yeah, I don't know. Like,
So, what did you think, Brainstormer, of pop culture?
it's not my thing.
Yeah, every time I see a new clip of Harley Quinn, I'm glad that I don't watch Harley Quinn. The only enjoyable character in the show is Poison Ivy for me.
I feel like you would be happy if they made a Poison Ivy show, basically.
Yeah, I mean, between her and Raven, you could literally make a version of Daria that was set in the DC universe, and specifically try to contrast like Daria style observations, but from within the DC universe. That could be a really cool show, actually.
Right. Yeah.
Then again, I really do love the show Daria, so I might be biased in favor of Daria-esque things.
I like Daria, actually.
Although I will admit some of her observations have not aged well, because most of her observations appear to be the world is so hollow and excessive, and while I appreciate the beautiful, excess laden hedonistic world of the 90s is so empty and excessive, and I get that's a perfectly salient observation, but looking at that from the vantage point of the 2020s, all I could think was, "Sweet summer child, you don't know how good you have it."
Pretty much, like Jesus Christ.
Because, like, for example, one of the earliest episodes of Daria features them going to a mall on a school trip, and of course, Daria and Jane take pot shots at the emptiness of commercialism and so on. But I actually went to a mall with my friend Nick to watch Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness because there was a movie theater in there, and the thing was just gutted. Like almost a third of the stores were closed, and the stalls were empty because of the 1-2 punch of Amazon existing and also COVID. And I was just like, how good we used to have it and how we barely even knew, kind of thing.
So with that, folks, I want to say goodbye, adios, aloha, auf Wiedersehen, sayonara, peace, cheers, and
with love, fuck off.
Ha!